Comes audio son. You burn this wine when I want you shine. The tree of life, them I want you climb, cause them heart no kind. Comes I say them heart no kind. Buxton massive. Kidaki. Read that. The fire burning red in the jazz representing if it comes audio. You know. Big up Kidaki. Buxton massive. Hey Babylon boy, you going like you know, like come son. Red.
Never joke, never joke, never joke. Oh, money, never money, never money, money, never money, money, not know what you can I did. Money, money, never money, never money, money, never money, money, you can keep, you can I did money. When you've been up for a bum, in a bill tell me money. Now because your money done, you come with conniving money. When you had your pocket full, in a bill tell me money. Now because your money done, you hustle to tell me money. Yes, money, never money, never money, money, never money, money, now know what you conniving money. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me walk. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. This is all the money that me walk. I said money, neighbor, money, neighbor, money, money, neighbor, money, money. I know what you can I be money. Oh, Joseph.
Guyana and Guyanese, at home and abroad. Tune in to Guyanese Morning Time, hosted by Kadaki Amsterdam, where the sun always shines. Guyanese Morning Time, the people call it Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. We rise up early morning watching Tom's TV, where wisdom and knowledge, yes, it is the key. Exposing corruption over land and sea, where the wicked politician they try to trick me. Guyana is a land for everybody. With 6 races should live in harmony. There's one set of people getting oil money. There's one set of people doing the thievery. Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. This is a program that you all can see, sharing your views and your integrity. Like it, comment and share it all around. Pass it to your neighbor, safe and sound. A sad situation going on in this town. The voice of the people is getting trampled down. Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings, with Jah as ordained me to sing. I sing Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, fooling the people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. Stop fooling people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. I say Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. They got Breakford, Bork and Mark Benchcop, David Hines and Kadaki Amsterdam, Sherrod Duncan, Nigel London, Normal Brown and Gavin Matthews. Big up Paslow, poor people governor, Simona Brooms, Robin Simpson, Hampton Green and Winston Jordan. And yes, we can go right on and on. Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again.
The relatives and friends of young Wyndham Bacchus, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of our in Boston, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of Peter Headley, they deserve justice.
And so when we say that Guyana is an apartheid state, we have the evidence to show.
Hey fans, it's karaoke and oldies night this and every Thursday at Club Twilight Sideline Dam, Buxton. Dance to the magical songs of yesteryear by popular DJs and Camps Audio. Admission is free. Come out, let's make memories at Club Twilight Sideline Dam, Buxton North.
Did you know that East
You can get meat anywhere, but for the best cuts of chicken, beef, pork, mutton, and lots more, check out T&W Harris Butcher Shop located in the East Rheinveld Market Meat Section. Call us on 609-7168, 641-4494. Ask for Rastaman. T&W Harris Butcher Shop for the best in fresh cut meats and lots more. have you been? How was your yesterday? How was your yesterday? How was your last night? I hope you had a restful night, and I hope you had a progressive and a successful yesterday. I hope you were able to achieve your set goals. Well, although I noticed something that you might notice too. It's wrong with me this morning. This morning, you know, sometimes you wake up and you're all into yourself, and perhaps something happened that got you all, what do you call it? Flustered. I think I'm flustered this morning. Something I'm flustered. But we'll survive. We'll get through that too. Right? We are survivors. We are conquerors. And so we just continue to do what we have to do to conquer. Yeah. I don't like when I do it. But we're going to start by telling Kishore, I look for you right, father. I am not that black man that impregnated his mother and walked out on her. So I don't know why early morning he come cussing me, call me parasite, call me jackass, threatening to get me locked up, and so and so. Actually, Kishore, one of the biggest taboo for you is that you were born from the seed of an African Guyanese man. But because your four parents couldn't accept him, he walked out. And so now you believe that every African Guyanese man owes you something, or you have to walk around with hatred in your heart for them. It's not my fault that your ancestors couldn't accept my people, despite the fact that your mother was in love with him. Don't come cussing me, man. Sit with your four parents, sit with your current generation, and help them to understand that we're all humans, and love is love. You can't stop the damn river from flowing. The most you could do is make it break the bank. And that is what happened to your situation. Go look for your daddy and left me alone. Welcome to the program, morning. And with that said, I am going to block Ashki. You gotta go about your business. Right. You gotta go about your business, man. Get out of here. I'm gone. Early morning crash and distraction. Anyhow, it's 28 minutes past the 7 o'clock hour. You know, we always try to keep you up to date at Camps TV and let you know what's happening and how it's happening and when it's happening and where it's happening and so on. Right? And so this morning, thanks to the Guyana Teachers Union, thanks to General Secretary Coretta McDonald, we have Coretta in the house. And so we're going to be talking with Ms. McDonald, even for a few, even briefly, to know what's happening. Right? What's happening? Okay, she's in the room, but she's not on camera as yet.
Hi, dear. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
What are you doing? You powdering?
I'm not going to be on camera this morning. Sorry.
You got a date with all these celebrities that you are hiding from us.
I'm so sorry. There's so many things happening, all at the same time. But don't worry. I am good, and I'm hoping that you're good and your listeners are good. Thanks for always being so accommodating to us. As you know, our strike commenced last Thursday again. And that was so because of the government's failure to continue to address our issues. The Ministry of Education, I must say, and I have no apologies for saying this, and I'm not saying this because I wanted to aggravate or agitate what is happening, but it's a fact. the Ministry of Education, and by extension the government, they are not serious about this nation's education, the education of our children, and ensuring that our teachers are comfortable. This government is prepared every time to play games with the lives of
Are we losing you? Ms. McDonald, General Secretary? Hello? See, we have lost Coretta. I wonder why. Coretta, General Secretary, Honorable Member. Okay, I don't know what has happened, but I'm sure she's going to try to get back in. Yeah, so Coretta was there, and I'm sure she will return to give us an update as to what is happening in terms of the teachers' strike, which started last Thursday. I know yesterday they were out at the in front of the Ministry of Labor, and today I assume they're going to be right there again. Yesterday they wore blue yesterday, and they were asked to wear blue to show support for the teachers' cause. I think today is yellow, but let's see if we get her back. Let's see if we get her back. Coretta, are you there? We definitely lost her. I wonder what's happening. Oh, she's back. She's back. Coretta. Ms. McDonald. Hello? Hello? Let me see if I can get her on WhatsApp. Okay, you want us to do this by WhatsApp? You can talk through WhatsApp. But all right, so I'm good. So can you hear me?
I am hearing you loud and clear. I've been hearing you all the time, but I don't know what is happening coming through the line. But like I was saying, the Guyana Teachers Union is ready to work with the government to resolve this issue. But the government is continuing to play games with the lives of our teachers and the lives of our children and the lives of so many, many parents. You know, I said to the chief labor officer yesterday, as a matter of fact, let me back up. We would have written to the chief labor officer months ago, indicating to him that our talks have broken down. And we are asking him to intervene and start the process of conciliation. We got no response from them since last year. But it was only just before February 5th when we announced officially that we are taking industrial action that we got a response from the Ministry of Labor in the form of the Chief Labor Officer, indicating to us that as far as they're concerned, no talks would have been broken down, and whatever we're doing, it's going to be deemed illegal. We've heard the Minister of Labor making the same pronouncement. We've heard the Minister of Education making the same pronouncement. We heard the same thing from Vice President Jagnew. But I'm thankful that the courts would have pronounced differently on that. The court has pronounced, but yet the Ministry of Education has failed to honor the judgment of the court. We know that the issue the threat of cutting teachers' salaries, Judge Kissoon said they were the ones who aggravated the situation, and so you can't cut the teachers' pay. They stopped with immediate effect on February 6th the deduction of teachers' dues and remitting same to the union. As we speak, it has not yet been restored. Now, we entered the negotiating room based on the wisdom of Judge Kissoon, who employed the use of 2 senior attorneys to sit with us to begin the mediation or the process. We sat there in good faith, but you know what? Like everybody else knew, the Ministry of Education, they were very deceptive. We sat there, we agreed on what we were going to do, that the document we're looking at is the 2019-2023 document. After 2 or 3 hours, we saw big Facebook posting on the Ministry of Education's page. Thankfully, we outsmarted them because we had the minutes of the day signed off. So when we posted the minutes there, it spilled a different being out there. So yesterday's meeting came on the heels of having an email sent to us on Sunday afternoon or into Sunday evening. The GTU, again, we decided we were going to attend that meeting because we want this issue to be resolved. Yesterday, we sat there from about 10:30 to about 20 to 5, somewhere there, and we could not agree on a single page with the details for the terms of resumption. Now, this is what the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Labor, and by extension, the government, this is what they want. They want the teachers off the streets with nothing in their hands. And we're not prepared to go that way. We said to them before, I addressed the Chief Labor Officer yesterday at the forum, and I said to him, the trust has been broken. We cannot believe anything that comes from the Ministry of Education because of previous experience. And for us to pull our members off the streets, we must have something tangible in our hands. We cannot walk away just like that. What are you prepared to do? And that's the big question up to now. They're not prepared to do anything tangible so that teachers can feel satisfied that they're coming off the streets. I'm going to pause there for now and answer any question.
Well, thank you for the update so far. I am happy that you gave us that entire background there as to what led to this new round of strike, should I say. Like you indicated, the discontinuation of the agency shop, I think they call it. Is that correct? Right.
Jews.
The Jews, the discontinuation of the deduction, was it with immediate effect? But yet, what, more than a month now, it has not been restored.
It has not been restored.
Isn't that, as I would say, flying in the face of the judge, as we say, contempt of court? We hear the AG said that they were going to appeal the ruling. Do you know if any appeal has been filed?
We've not heard of any appeal being filed, but until such time, the Jews should have been restored.
So do you foresee that the union might have to make another approach to the courts to have that executed?
Well, we're foreseeing that. As a matter of fact, the ministry yesterday, when we questioned that, we said, look, you want us to come off the streets? Reinstate the Jews with immediate effect. Let's put that in and let it be a part of the document. And they're around and around. But we cannot allow ourselves to be dragged into any scheme with the Ministry of Education. You see, the last time they said, look, we are ready to talk to you. We're going to talk. We're going to talk about the 2019-2023 document. And you know why they did that? They did that because they wanted the grade 6 exams to be written for the teachers to complete what they were doing and to have the children write the grade 6 exams. They also did that because they knew it had implications for the children who were writing CSEC. So they wanted the FBA grades to be submitted. And that is why they said they were ready to talk. After we resumed the duties and those were completed, as a matter of fact, let me say, the ministry did not even have to ask for 1 day's extension because our teachers worked overtime, beyond time, back time, front time, all the time our teachers worked to ensure that the submission date was kept for CXC. Now, you get the feeling as if we've returned to Massa days, where Massa only want to have their part of the bargain fulfilled, and they're not concerned about the part of with their partners, and we're not prepared to go that way. This time around, they're up and they're putting on the front that they want to have teachers return to school and they're ready to talk, because you know what? It's coming to the end of the school year where end of year examinations have got to be written. Students in the secondary schools will have to be streamed from 3rd form going into the 4th form, or from grade 9 going into grade 10. The others will have to get their reports completed. And so this is the game that the Ministry of Education, they want to play with us. And by extension, the government, they want to play the game again. I must say to our parents, the teachers have no issues with you. We have no issues with our learners. We are about the business of ensuring that our children are engaged, that our children can complete their work at the different grades, but we cannot continue to work with a government that doesn't show any care, a government that is not considerate, a government that feels they can keep teachers impoverished and only at their whim and fancies they can dole out as if we're a handout nation. So the president feels good about pulling 20 teachers or 100 teachers or 150 teachers and giving them some handouts, rather than having his ministers look at a document that has been submitted to them since 2020.
You know, GS, you talk about the president and picking a few people to go for handouts and so on. We have received reports of, especially at the Monterey Post Primary, Indo-Guyanese teachers in particular being handpicked to go to the Ministry of Housing for land allocation. Definitely, it's a tactic of divide and rule. How strong is the union? Do you see the same strength as the previous strike? Is it, or is the union, are members now divided?
Well, you know what, Kedaki, before I answer that question, let me point us to what happened, I think it's 2 weekends ago at the PPP's Congress. I'm referring to the skit. And with what you're saying there, the skit played it out. We have not had, we've not been able to get concrete evidence, but the skit played it out. You remember the young lady there said, oh, while we out there on the streets with them like the Judas or something like that, I done collect my duty free, and one said, oh, I got house lots, or I got a land, something like that. That is what they intend to do. They intend to sweeten a few teachers to get them to stand against the union. But I could say to you, the union is stronger than it has ever been. Our members, the majority of our members, are not persuaded by those kinds of flimsy handouts. Our members understand that together with an agreement signed, all will benefit. I must point out too that just last May Day, my colleague Paul Narayan, who is also a member of parliament, he is also the president of GAU.
In an interview, he highlighted how many collective bargaining agreements his union was able to sign in 2023. I think he said about 12 of them. And the GTU since 2020, we cannot have one agreement signed. So clearly you're seeing the blatant discrimination and disregard for one set of persons as against how you treat another set of persons. And this is what the PPP are about. This is how they feel that they can continue to run this country, by dividing and rule.
Indeed, division and rule, dividing and rule. And so, like you rightly said, or like you're saying, the union is as strong as it ever was, and perhaps even stronger than latter days. Where do we go from here? Yes, end of term examinations are coming up. Students are necessarily going to be expecting to have reports completed and so on, end of term examinations administered and so. Do you currently see this situation being resolved fast enough for teachers to return to the classroom to administer end of term examinations and deliver reports?
We are always going to be positive and optimistic because we want what is best for our children. The GTU is prepared to sit with the Ministry of Education and again, by extension, the government of Guyana to speak to our document, the 2019-2023 document. But the question is whether the Ministry of Education is ready to deal with that. If they're not ready to deal with that, then we can have a prolonged industrial action with the teachers being out of the classroom. I indicated yesterday that when this government is thinking that they are punishing teachers, they're not punishing teachers alone. They're punishing several other groups of persons, and many, many families are suffering. For example, the minibus operators, what they were accustomed to be making in a day in terms of their round trip, they can't do that any longer when school is out. So families are here. The boat operators are suffering. The canteen operators are suffering because once there's no school, you cannot operate the canteen. Other public servants are suffering because they have to make other arrangements for their children to either be at home or be somewhere else that is safe. And this government does not understand these things, or they probably are doing these things because they have no care or concern. But I can safely say to you, if the government is not prepared to budge, then the teachers will continue to be out of the classrooms. And who knows, this can have a rippling effect where not only teachers will be out there, but it might very well force other public servants, the nurses, the clerks, the office assistants, outside of public service, minibus operators, boat operators, taxi drivers. It can force so many other things to happen. But I'm hoping that this morning when we go to the Ministry of Labor, that good sense will prevail. And you know, they keep talking about good faith, but we've been saying to them from yesterday, good faith is no longer there. That's a word that has been overused and abused. Because if you were acting in good faith, then we would have had already signed an agreement. And at the stage that we're at now, if you were acting in good faith, then we would have been able to agree that we were going to look at the 2019-2023 document. I can further say to you, Kidaki, that the union is so accommodating. And we have decided that, look, because of the interest of this nation, we are prepared to alter our proposal. Even with that, the government is not prepared to budge, because in their minds, they are prepared to look at a document that says 2024 onwards. And you remember the president said he has a best welfare package. At first, he had a comprehensive package to offer. Now he's having a best welfare package, which will start kicking in 2027. And then at his Congress, he said, oh, in 2030, public servants will have a best welfare package. Now, I don't know really where they want to be, because this is 2024 we're talking about, and you're talking about 2027, and then you've moved to 2030. It means clearly that they have no intentions of signing any collective agreement with the teachers or public servants before 2030, and they don't even know where they're going to be in 2030. The teachers union is saying, we presented a document to you since 2020. Let's look at the document. Let's have the document signed, after which we're going to start talking about 2024. I hear the Minister of Labor and the Minister of Education and a whole host of them talking about how can we talk about 2019 when we weren't in government. And this is the kind of stupidity and stupid statements we're having coming from high government officials. We signed a document with the government of the day. We did not sign an agreement with a party. We signed with the government of the day. And governments fulfill what other governments were not able to fulfill. As a matter of fact, let me say that when the coalition took office in 2015, they had to complete the mandate that was left there by the previous government. And so the debunching aspect that was completed in 2017, where the teachers were able to get lump sums of money, it was completed by the coalition government. And we did not hear that kind of foolish ramblings that we did not start this, so we cannot do this. But these are the kinds of excuses that we're hearing coming from the mouths of senior government officials, because they've already decided that there are certain things they will not do.
Thank you, MP. Let me take a minute to tell Andy Pitamba that he should check within the confines of his home and do just what he's suggesting that he wants to do to the viewers. Good riddance.
And you see, this is what we have coming. When the sugar workers take industrial action, you don't hear all of these comments. You don't see them abusing their leaders out. You don't see them cussing CPAL out. You don't see them doing this and doing that. But when the GTU or the GPSU decide that they want to take industrial action, or they're sending strong letters to the government, then you hear all the kind of cuss down and the kind of this and the kind of that. And it is saying to us, we are treading on dangerous grounds. I don't know where some of these folks want us to go. But if you're talking about a civilized society, like this government has been saying, Guyana is a civilized society. Democracy has been restored. Integrity has been restored. And when unions clamor for the rights of their workers and benefits for their workers, you hear the union leaders being described in all kinds of ways. But you know what? Our teachers have better sense, and the majority of our Guyanese people, they have better sense. The Guyanese in the diaspora, they understand and they know better, and so are many, many other foreigners within the Caribbean and further afield. They understand exactly what is happening, and their thoughts are different as against those lazy-minded ones that we have who would make the kinds of comments.
Very well. You talk about knowing different. A lot of people like to say, and are continuing to say, that teachers are selfish for holding the line and not returning to the classroom to ensure, for example, that at the end of terms, exams will be administered and so on if the government continues to not respect what the teachers are demanding. Has there been any efforts to, I would want to say, person to person, individually, district by district, reach out to parents and guardians and have them understand clearly that this matter really is not intended to punish their children, but is more so to ensure that teachers get their just dues and can deliver with, I would say, a freer, more enthusiastic spirit to the students?
Well, what we have done, we have been sensitizing parents via social media and at our school level. But I think we will have to go on a public campaign or a public awareness campaign to educate parents, to let parents understand, like I said earlier, that we're not in any fight with them. We're not in any fight with their children. We are not doing this to punish parents or to punish our learners. This is a struggle between the teachers and the government. And it's obvious, let me say this, that if a teacher is not comfortable, then our learners are not going to be comfortable, because the teacher will not be able to deliver the way he or she ought to deliver. And so I want parents to understand this and to reassure parents that we would want to have you on our side to send straight messages to the government so that they will understand that they must adhere to the labor laws, the very labor laws that Joseph Hamilton would speak about on so many occasions. But you know what? They use the labor laws when it is convenient to them. They use all kinds of sayings and all kinds of talk they put out there when it's convenient to them. May I remind us that this very Vice President, Barajagio, when he was opposition leader in 2018, he lambasted the APNU AFC government when he was opposition leader, and he was telling them that they need to talk to the teachers, and that the teachers' strike is not illegal, and the teachers have real issues, and that they are going to support the teachers. But in 2023 and 2024, the story is a different story. The song is a different song. And so we cannot continue to trust them.
Thank you, Jess. Let's talk about those demands. What are the demands to come off the road again? What are the terms of resumption? That is what I should say.
Well, we're saying to the government that in order for us to return to our classrooms, we must have something that is tangible. And one, we're saying reinstate the dues that you just took off, reinstate that. Secondly, we're saying come up with a payment package, some package that you can offer us before we return to work. Thirdly, we're saying we must debate, negotiate, disagree, and agree to the 2019-2023 proposal that was submitted by the GTU. Very, 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 very simple demands we are making.
Simple from the union standpoint is not necessarily simple from the government standpoint.
Well, you see, Kadaki, we highlighted yesterday as well. And we reminded them that not having fiscal space in the budget. But we reminded them that there were several occasions when Parliament was convened to approve supplementary budgets. So if you don't have the space in this one, a supplementary can be produced, especially to deal with teachers' issues. Or let me expand it. A supplementary could be put forward to the House to deal with public servants. A special increase for public servants, because you hear the cry. If we talk to the teachers and if we approve the teachers' agreement, what is going to happen to the nurses? What will happen to this sector? But when we are completing and signing off on those collective agreements for the sugar workers, you don't hear the same cry. And this is where we have to continue to emphasize that as long as the government is prepared to do what they're doing for one sector of workers, then they should be prepared to do it for other sectors of workers. And it should not be difficult. I can remind us too that just a couple of weeks ago, 2 weekends or something ago, the government expended huge sums of monies in excess of $150 million to host the Burna Boy show. And I'm saying, if education was important, then we would have made the cuts and the cuts and the cuts wherever to ensure that we look after our teachers. You know, I don't want to say a couple of things, but I know that our listeners are intelligent and they can read in between the lines. In our homes, if we want to do something, if something pop up, then we know how we have to cut and contrive to push for the other, whatever else we want to do. One of your roof started leaking, you did not cater for that leak, and so you have to cut and contrive to ensure that that leak is fixed. Your fence fall down, you did not plan for that, but you will now have to cut and contrive on some of the spending that you had planned to do in some other areas and put a little bit from here and a little bit from there and a little bit from there to ensure that you fix your fence again. The government can do the same thing, but they're just not prepared to do that because they want to issue handouts. You notice yesterday, by the time we were in the room with the Ministry of Labor, battling to have a terms of reference document signed on to, the Minister of Finance, the Minister with responsibility for finance, had a big pronouncement issued on out there, writing off of loans, you know? And so I'm saying that this government can do it, but they are just being very presumptuous and just feel that they can punish one set of people because they feel in their minds they're seeing that the teacher's strike is political. And I have to come around to this one. The teacher's strike was politically motivated. In 2018, it was not politically motivated. And the issues we are fighting for are just the same issues that we fought for in 2018. The only difference here is the figures have changed, the numbers have changed. From 2018 to 2019 and onwards, we anticipated that inflation will be higher, cost of living will rise, and so only the numbers have changed. I must remind our viewers too, our listeners, that this collective proposal, multi-year proposal that we're talking about is nothing strange to the PPP government. The first multi-year agreement signed by the GPU was done in 2006 when Barrett Jam president. And after then, we continue to sign multi-year agreements with them. So they can't come to say that this is something strange we're bringing to them. They're well aware of multi-year agreements, but they are just being very presumptuous.
Presumptuous indeed. I see one of the representatives of the PPP that you mentioned that figures have changed is on the program here saying that the teachers are ruthless. They're asking for $600,000 a month for a junior teacher.
Oh yes, where did he get that from?
Well,
you see, these people are going to put all kinds of things there to derail the process. How can we ask for $600,000 for a junior teacher? He should send us the calculations that he did there and what percent he is asking for. A junior teacher receives anywhere about $98,000, somewhere there is the salary of a TQM. That's their take-home salary. So I don't understand if we're asking for $600,000 for a TQM, then maybe we're asking for more than the salary of the president, for the highest paid teacher, which is absolute nonsense. If that person were to do the calculations, 20% asking on a salary of $98,000, then he is going to get the correct answer and not try to come here to derail this process. Absolute nonsense.
Thank you. $98,000 a month. How does a teacher? I'm just thinking out aloud. How does a teacher survive on $98,000 a month? Less than what? $500 a month.
Yep.
Wow.
And you know, Kedaki, let me shed some more light on this. Many of our teachers in the hinterland are not trained teachers. We are now engaging over the last couple of years, starting 2017, somewhere there, we have started extending the training program so that teachers can be trained where they live as against them having to come to Turkey. So quite a few of our teachers are now trained teachers, except for those in the deep hinterland. Now, a teacher living in Upper Maz, Waramadan and those areas, 1 pound of beef is $1,500. 1 bottle of gas is $18,000. 1 sack of rice is $8,000. A kit of farine is $5,000. Now you do the calculations for a family of, let's say, 3 at $98,000, and you tell me how the teacher will continue to survive for the rest of the month. And this is what we have been projecting all the time. Our teachers have to continue to be engaged in 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. And then they still have to go to school to perform or to deliver so that our children can be molded in the right way. And even with the hardship that our teachers have been going through, all the hardships that they've been going through, our teachers have still been able to ensure that Guyana remain at the top in the Caribbean when our CSEC results are announced, when our CAPE results are announced, when our grade 6 results are announced. We have still been able to ensure that our children secure 27 grade 1s, 26 subjects, 24 subjects, because in our minds, our learners are priority for us. Just Sunday night last, we saw our teachers on the Essequibo coast having in their homes 8 and 9 students who were preparing to write. They were doing last-minute brush up with them because they were writing mathematics examinations. Even while we're struggling now, our teachers are entertaining students in their homes. During the COVID period, our teachers risked their lives. When some persons are saying teachers did not work, our teachers risked their lives to go from home to home to home, distributing worksheets, collecting worksheets, taking learners into their homes and conducting classes while schools were out. And so teachers continue to go over and beyond. As a matter of fact, a teacher is not only a teacher for 5 hours in the school, but a teacher is a teacher 24 hours, because at every time there is some issue for you to deal with. To risk their lives, to go out there to do shopping, for schools. Just recently, we saw a teacher being robbed because he was out there doing school. They're shopping for school, and the ministry and the government, by extension, they don't appreciate these efforts and extra efforts that teachers put in to ensuring that their classrooms are conducive to learning and that our children are comfortable. You know what is even more heart-wrenching is the fact that with the little that teachers are receiving, teachers can still put their hands in their pockets to give a child a bus fare or bus fares, to buy lunch for a child who's coming to school and doesn't have anything to eat. That's how far teachers go. Teachers take their lunch and share with their learners. But the efforts of teachers are not being appreciated by quite a of those staff sitting in government.
Thank you, Jess. It's now 10 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour. We usually would open up the lines. I am going to open the lines and see if anybody has any question to ask you while you're here. But while we're on that, I see again a PPP representative is saying, if teachers are really serious about wanting an increase, they should accept the negotiations starting at 2024. What's wrong with that?
You know, accepting the negotiations starting from 2024. When we accept the negotiations starting from 2024, is the government prepared to pay teachers 1.5 times if we ask for that? Because remember, 2019, 2020, 2023 has passed. If we were to double up, bring into the 2024 some of what we have done, some of what we've been asking for in 2019 to 2023, is the government prepared to honor that? Is the government prepared to honor that? So you see, some of these folks will just rattle off because they are loyal to the government of the day. And you see, they can rattle off like that because they don't feel what teachers feel and they don't feel what the ordinary citizens are feeling. They are getting the benefits like the good friends and families and favorites, so they understand how the ordinary man is feeling.
Indeed, thank you. I did say the lines are open. Let me change that invite, because if you call, you're going to knock the yes off. So what you'll have to do is send me your voice notes. You can send your voice notes. I can't take any calls now because the GS is on the line. So you can send voice notes. I have a voice note. I'm not sure what it's talking about, but let's play it.
Hi, Kadaki. A quick one. Coretta has an 8:15 on another.
All right, good. So that's the PR person. It's 13 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour. The General Secretary has to leave us. Coretta, Madam Jess, thank you for being here with us. Is there anything you want to say before you leave quickly?
Well, I would just want to ask parents to come on board and support the teachers. I want to thank our teachers for being as resolute as they're being, and to being even more resolute, because we recognize that we are fighting with a government that are not interested, or a government that is not interested in the work and upliftment of the Guyanese people. What we see many times is just smoke screen to distract us from things that are happening. And so when they throw out that debt relief, it's just a smoke screen to take us off of a topical issue and to guide your minds into something else. But I want to remind us that this is the kind of government that we have to live under, and that we must raise our voices when things are not right. We must raise our voices as Guyanese people.
Thank you, Jess.
The strike continues.
Thank you, Jess. Where is the location today?
We are in front of the Ministry of Labor. The color today is yellow.
Good. Thank you. Have a good one. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome, and thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Sure. All right, it seems we lost that call. So yes, the lines are now free. You can now call and let's talk about the things. Voice note here.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. And
why are these calls dropping? I don't know.
viewers, we, the parents, grandparents, and maybe fathers too, but you know, I have to speak for myself. We are in support with the teachers. Things are very tough. Things are very hard. And they say, as the whole saying goes, out of every bad cometh good. And many of us as Black people, we don't want to make sacrifices that at the end of the day, that we would benefit. As you know, some of us want to go for the handout. How much is the handout and what the handout can do? How much is the handout and what the handout can't do for us? When you go in the market with a family of 5 or 6, if you want to spend 10,000 or over 10,000, and that doesn't contain rice, flour, sugar, there is just greens, a little bit of fish, maybe little meat, you can hardly buy fruits. What the government is doing, it is wrong. Guyanese are suffering. Guyanese are suffering. It's 500, it's 500 and something for a pound of chicken. You got a family of 5 or 6. Can't you buy 1 pound of chicken? No. It's best you cook it all if you can buy 1 pound of chicken. So things are tough, and we are with the teachers. The children I'm punishing because I know that if the work that you had already in your book, you just go it over. You tell the children, pick up the book and let it go it over. From every bad comment good, we have to make sacrifice that better can come. And not for one, for all. Even those that the home and I'm believing in strike or go abuse out or this and that, is everybody gonna benefit. And when the teachers get money, when you're self-employed, it coming to you too, because when you're self-employed, if you're mining chicken, wherever you're selling to Plory and this and that, people gonna get more money that they can support you.
Thank you for that voice note. Indeed, I really love the reasoning of the voice note. You know, it's an interconnected system, right? It's interdependency. Let me call it that. More money is in the hands of the teachers and public servants, more for the market vendor, more for the business sector. And who dominates the business sector? The PPP friends and cronies. So they will get it back. They will benefit anyhow. Right? So when you punish the teachers, especially now that when teachers are on strike, a whole lot of other things can't happen. The transportation providers are affected. The caller, you need to mute your microphone. The school vendors, let's call them that, are affected. If school vendors are affected, it means that the supermarkets and so on can be selling because they have no need to go and refresh their stock. And so it's a whole interconnected system. It's an interdependency. And so one thing will affect the other. But does this government care? No. Those who come here talking foolishness, do they care? No. All they're concerned, they get a check from the government at the end of the month. Usually, I would assume that most of the ignorants who come here to represent the government in the mornings and talk foolishness get a check bigger than the teachers who spend their years in training, not only to become trained teachers, but also to get their masters and their dependents and so on and so forth, right? And they're happy with that because they can earn more than the people who sacrifice their time to be fully educated, to educate the nation's children. They don't care about that. They care about self. Call your life. Call your life. Caller, can you hear me? All right, it seems we're not hearing that. That caller is not hearing me, or we are not hearing the caller. I'm sure the person will call again. Voice note.
A very blessed good morning, Mr. Kadaki. God bless your program. Those who are in and out of the
Call your life.
Yes. Good morning again to all my black brothers and sisters. Let me pick up from that sister that Guyanese is suffering. Yes, Guyanese is suffering because they want to suffer. They enjoy suffering. They are pleased with the suffering because Guyanese still sleeping. Guyanese still walking blind on the street every day. That's why they're suffering. I'm saying this over and over on the program every day. If Guyanese take a page from the good book, Moses page, and read that page, and you will know what God did to stop suffering, to stop punishment, to stop people who want to endanger people's life, strap on people, punishing them every day, and keep them in poverty. That is what's happening today to black people in Guyana. What God did, Flash God? Are you still there?
Yes, we are.
What God did, Flash God? Talk to me this morning. God killed. I'm going to use the word again. God killed all the firstborn to Pharaoh. Master them who was carrying out Pharaoh works. All the firstborn. Then Pharaoh give up and let God people go. Black people, what you have to, what it takes to let black people, children get an education. Because God make sure for the people, children get education. Why the hell black people must suffering than children? Get outside there and if it got a burn Georgetown down, burn it down, and make sure our children get what they're supposed to get. But them didn't get island gas money. The only man that control the island gas money. Why black people children get suffering? We ban and go in education. But them from the country with the education who take and who take, they never suffer today. Stop suffering, my black brothers and sisters in Guyana. Just God is saying, stop suffering. You guys could do better because are you strong? 95% black people is a spending people in Guyana. 95 black people is hard-working people in Guyana. Why the hell is y'all loving tap you punishing y'all? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your call. And let me say that while I agree with many of the sentiments of the caller, that people have to stand up for what they rightly deserve, and people have to stand up and demand better governance and so on. I do not necessarily subscribe to the call to burn down Georgetown, because I don't think burning down Georgetown is necessarily going to solve the problem. The problem is with your government. Protest. Shut down Georgetown might be a better choice. Shut down Georgetown. Take a day, take 2 days in a week, and shut down Georgetown. There are certain sections of Georgetown that where business and commerce will certainly suffer if protesters were to occupy those places, right? Like there was an occupy some years ago. There was an occupy some place, I can't remember. But yes, maybe people need to start occupying the central districts of the city, so that everything comes to grind, stand still, a halt, a go slow, and so on. And so people start to feel the squeeze, and then they in turn will squeeze the government. Good. I understand some people are saying we're against protests, we're against massive protests and so on, because the government is brutal and there are CCTV cameras and so on, and this and that. I was saying to a friend who was making that argument recently, CCTV cameras are there for our protection. Because the CCTV cameras should be able to pick up the images of the wrongdoers. And so long as we are sure that we are going to be protesting within the confines of the law, then we have no fear. There's nothing lawless or against the law if hundreds or thousands of people use the pavements of Georgetown at one time. We ain't in a protest. We ain't bearing placards. We are simply using the pavements of Georgetown at one time. Let's occupy the pavements. If we occupy the pavements, the police can't come and tell us come off of the sidewalk. We are walking, we are window shopping. We are doing business in the business district.
Can't do that any longer when school is out. They don't even know where they're going to be in 2030. 8 and 9 students who were preparing to write, they were doing last minute brush up with them because they were writing mathematics examinations. Even while we're struggling now, our teachers are entertaining students in their homes. During the COVID period, our teachers risked their lives. When some persons are saying teachers did not work, our teachers risked their lives to go from home to home to home, distributing worksheets, collecting worksheets.
I don't know what has happened, but I'm sure she's going to try to get back in. Yeah, so Carter was there, and I'm sure she will return to give us an.
This is how they feel that they can continue to run this country, by dividing and rule.
Indeed, division and rule, dividing and rule. And so, like you rightly said, or like you're saying, the union is as strong as
in
it ever
2020,
was,
and
perhaps even stronger than latter days. Where do we go from here? Yes, end of term examinations are coming up. Students are necessarily going to be expecting to have reports completed and so on, end of term examinations administered and so. Do you currently see this situation being resolved fast enough for teachers to return to the classroom to administer end of term examinations and deliver reports?
We are always going to be positive and optimistic because we want what is best for our children. The GTU is prepared to sit with the Ministry of Education and again, by
I'm extremely unhappy with some of the decisions that they've been making
to speak to our document, the 2019-2023 document. But the question is whether the Ministry of Education is ready to deal with it. She could be put forward to the house or bus fares to buy lunch for a child who's coming to school and doesn't have anything to eat. That's how far teachers go. Teachers take their lunch and share with.
Why are these scores dropping? I don't know.
Yes. We, the parents, grandparents, and maybe fathers too, but you know, I have to speak for myself. We are in support with the teachers. Things are very tough. Things are very hard. And they say, as the whole saying goes, out of every bad cometh good. And many of us as Black people, we don't want to make sacrifices that at the end of the day, that we would benefit. As you know, some of us want to go for the handout. How much is the handout and what the handout can do? How much is the handout and what the handout can't do for us? When you go in the market with a family of 5 or 6, if you want to spend 10,000 or over 10,000, and that doesn't contain rice, flour, sugar, there is just greens, a little bit of fish, maybe little meat, you can hardly buy fruits. What the government is doing, it is wrong. Guyanese are suffering. Guyanese are suffering. It's 500, it's 500 and something for a pound of chicken. You got a family of 5 or 6. Can't you buy 1 pound of chicken? No. It's best you cook it all if you're going to buy 1 pound of chicken. So things are tough, and we are with the teachers. The children I'm punishing because I know that if the work that you had already in your book, you just go it over. You tell the children, pick up the book and let it go it over. From every bad comment good, we have to make sacrifice that better can come. And not for one, for all, even those that the home and I'm believing in strike or go abuse out or this and that, is everybody going to benefit. And when the teachers get money, when you're self-employed, it coming to you too, because when you're self-employed, if you're mining chicken, wherever you're selling to Plory and this and that, people going to get more money that they can support you.
Thank you for that voice note. Indeed, I really love the reasoning of the voice note. You know, it's an interconnected system, right? It's interdependency, let me call it that. More money is in the hands of the teachers and public servants, more for the market vendor, more for the business sector. And who dominates the business sector? The PPP friends and cronies. So they will get it back, they will benefit anyhow. Right? So when you punish the teachers, especially now that when teachers are on strike, a whole lot of other things can't happen. The transportation providers are affected. Carly, you need to mute your microphone. The school vendors, let's call them that, are affected. If school vendors are affected, it means that the supermarkets and so on can't be selling because they have no need to go and refresh their stock. And so it's a whole interconnected system. It's an interdependency. And so one thing will affect the other. But does this government care? No. Those who come here talking foolishness, do they care? No. All they're concerned, they get a check from the government at the end of the month. Usually, I would assume that most of the ignarers who come here to represent the government in the mornings and talk foolishness get a check bigger than the teachers who spend their years in training, not only to become trained teachers, but also to get their masters and their dependents and so on and so forth, right? And they're happy with that because they can earn more than the people who sacrifice their time to be fully educated, to educate the nation's children. They don't care about that. They care about self. Call your life. Call it your life. Caller, can you hear me? All right, it seems we're not hearing that. That caller is not hearing me, or we are not hearing the caller. I'm sure the person will call again. Voice note.
A very blessed good morning, Mr. Kadaki. God bless your program. Those who are in and out of the...
Call your life.
Yes. Good morning again to all my black brothers and sisters. Let me pick up from that sister that Guyanese is suffering. Yes, Guyanese is suffering because they want to suffer. They enjoy suffering. They are pleased with the suffering because Guyanese still sleeping. Guyanese still walking blind on the street every day. That's why they're suffering. I'm saying this over and over on the program every day. If Guyanese take a page from the good book, Moses' page, and read that page, and you will know what God did to stop suffering, to stop punishment, to stop people who want to endanger people's life, strap on people, punishing them every day, and keep them in poverty. That is what's happening today to black people in Guyana. What God did for us, God. Are you still there?
Yes, we are.
What God did for us, God. Talk to me this morning. God killed. I'm going to use the word again. God killed all the firstborn for Pharaoh. Master them who was carrying out Pharaoh works. All the firstborn. Then Pharaoh give up and let God people go. Black people, what you have to, what it take to let you let black people, children get an education, because God make sure For the people, children get education. Why the hell black people must suffering than children? Get outside there and if it has a burn Georgetown down, burn it down, and make sure our children get what they're supposed to get. But I'm didn't get island gas money. The only man that control the island gas money. Why black people children get suffering? We ban and go in education. But I'm from the country with the education who take and who take, they never suffer today. Stop suffering, my black brother and sister in Guyana. Just God is saying, stop suffering. You guys could do better because are you strong? 95% black people is a spending people in Guyana. 95 black people is hard-working people in Guyana. Why the hell are y'all allowing you punishing y'all? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your call. And let me say that while I agree with many of the sentiments of the caller, that people have to stand up for what they rightly deserve, and people have to stand up and demand better governance and so on. I do not necessarily subscribe to the call to burn down Georgetown, because I don't think burning down Georgetown is necessarily going to solve the problem. The problem is with your government. Protest. Shut down Georgetown might be a better choice. Shut down Georgetown. Take a day, take 2 days in a week, and shut down Georgetown. There are certain sections of Georgetown that where business and commerce will certainly suffer if protesters were to occupy those places, right? Like there was an occupy some years ago. There was an occupy some place, I can't remember. But yes, maybe people need to start occupying the central districts of the city, so that everything comes to grind, stand still, a halt, a go slow, and so on. And so people start to feel the squeeze, and then they in turn will squeeze the government. Good. I understand some people are saying we're against protests, we're against massive protests and so on, because the government is brutal and there are CCTV cameras and so on, and this and that. I was saying to a friend who was making that argument recently, CCTV cameras are there for our protection. Because the CCTV cameras should be able to pick up the images of the wrongdoers. And so long as we are sure that we are going to be protesting within the confines of the law, then we have no fear. There's nothing lawless or against the law if hundreds or thousands of people use the pavements of Georgetown at one time. We are in a protest. We are bearing placards. We are simply using the pavements of Georgetown at one time. Let's occupy the pavements. If we occupy the pavements, the police can't come and tell us come off of the sidewalk. We are walking, we are window shopping. We are doing business in the business district. Albeit, hundreds of us, just like Mother's Day, just like Christmas, just like whatever the period of time when we go there in our large numbers and we occupy the pavement, except in this instance, we occupy to shop. Let us occupy the pavements in this season to simply bring business to a halt. We only window shopping, we are spending 1 day a week. And if the government does nothing and their supporters do not get them to do anything, then we go to 2 days a week. That's all I want to say. We don't have to burn down any place. We can occupy it. Call your life.
Good morning, Kadaki, and good morning to our listeners. I am a little naive in this, how the system goes, you know. But since the PPP government, they are not working according to the Constitution, they take away free education from nursery to university. They're denying the Guyanese that right, which is enshrined in the Constitution. And since they are reluctant to deal with the teachers accordingly, who have a legitimate situation, I was wondering if the teachers can't have a delegation, or if they have done that already, I don't know, a delegation and take this delegation to the United Nations and make their complaints there. Just for exposure, just for see, if it could bring some more pressure on the government to deal with them fairly. I was just wondering that, because...
Morning, neighbor, morning. Are you morning? It's 26 minutes to the 8 o'clock hour. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. It's Wednesday. Professor David HINDS is in the house with us. And so we're going to talk about all the things, that we want to talk about with the professor. How you been? How was your last night? How is your today? I know it's raining and it's wet in Buxton. What's happening around the city? What's happening around the country? Are you experiencing some rain? Have you made your preparations to the rain? Were you anticipating the rain and so you clean up the drains and, you plug those leaks at your roof and so on and so forth? Or you're like old people say, you're like Karen Crow, you wait till rain fall for look for nests. Right? I wonder. I hope you made preparations to the rains, and I hope that you are, you have to go to work. Many of you might be on your way to work. I hope you remember to walk with your rain gears and so on. Traditionally, this is the May-June season. I know for several years now, it did not occur as expected. I think they call that is either La Nina or El Nino, right? Male or female. One is the dry season, one is the wet season. We had the dry season extended for quite a while. But here we are, we're getting some rains. I'm sure the farmers are happy for the rains. The vendors might not be so happy because market is a weird thing. But what benefits some will certainly challenge others. But let us welcome our blessings. Let's count our blessings one by one. So I hope you rested well last night. I hope you achieved something yesterday that, will give you added reason for being optimistic. And I hope you've woken up this morning feeling reinvigorated. Plenty rain on East Bank to continue to challenge the status quo, which is poor governance or unfair governance, apartheid governance in this country. Before I forget, tomorrow morning we're going to get a long absent presenter on the program, a long absent guest, and I'm encouraging you to tune in tomorrow because it's going to be a good one. Tune in tomorrow. We have a special guest on the program, and it is going to be a good one. Tune in. In the meantime, share the live, please, and thank you. Share the live. I want to start today's program by playing an insert, and then I'll ask Dr. HINDS immediately to address that insert as we go ahead with the program. The insert is Bharat Jagdeo explaining why it is they can't pay teachers.
Guyana's Vice President Bharat Jagdeo has made it clear that the 25% salary increase for 2019 and 20% for each year from 2020 to 2023 proposed by the Guyana Teachers Union is not going to happen. Guyana's Vice President Bharat Jagdeo has made it clear that the 25% salary increase for 2019 and 20% for each year from 2020 to 2023 proposed by the Guyana Teachers Union is not going to happen. The VP was at the time speaking during his Thursday afternoon press briefing.
What the union wants cannot be accommodated by the fiscal framework, or it's not right. They want us to sign a multi-year agreement retroactively.
Mr. Jagdeo claims that if the government pays teachers as per the union's proposal, it would be a nightmare for the government. He explains why.
So if you reopen that for teachers, you have to, out of fairness, you have to ensure that every other category would get the same retroactive increases. It wouldn't be fair otherwise. That we can't sustain that in the budget.
The Guyana Teachers Union on Tuesday said that pay negotiations with the Ministry of Education collapsed after government refused to consider the union's 2019 to 2023 proposed multi-year agreement. But Mr. Jagdeo believes that the union is failing to see the investment his government has made in the nation's teachers.
They don't recognize the effort we've been making in education now to educate our teachers. We have accelerated training, access to scholarship, improvement in the classroom, all of this that will ensure a better environment for the teachers.
The Guyana Teachers Union on Tuesday said that plans are underway for a fresh legal battle after collective bargaining talks collapsed between the union and the Ministry of Education.
So let's see how it goes in the courts. They said, I think today, that they plan to file some pleading before the court.
The VP reiterated the initial position of the Ministry of Education, noting that the $1.146 trillion national budget does not have the fiscal space to accommodate such retroactive payment. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News.
Guys, welcome to the program.
Thank you much.
I hope you heard that insert there.
Yes, I did.
With Jack Dio saying why the government is not considering negotiating with the teachers from 2019 forward. We know that the teachers are back on strike because of the failure of the Ministry of Education / the government to really engage them on that multi-year agreement starting from 2019. We now got this explanation from Jagdeo why they are not willing to negotiate from 2019. Your thoughts on that?
Let me start with this fiscal space story. I noticed you just mentioned rain. But if we were to have a massive flood as a result of the rains that are falling here, I hope the government is not going to tell us that there is no fiscal space to find the money to deal with the flood emergency. I hope, because he seems to be saying, look, the budget is fixed and there's no fiscal space to find any money to pay the teachers, what he's calling retroactively. So that's the first thing I want to say. Which of course is my way of saying he's talking arrant nonsense. Nonsense. Government wants to find the fiscal space in a $1.14 trillion budget. There's a lot of fiscal space there to find the money to pay the teachers retroactively. So that's one. The second thing he's saying, well, if you give the teachers, then you have to give everybody else. He's assuming, again, the assumption here is that all the teachers all the categories of workers are in the same position as the teachers. So far as I know, it's only public servants who are in a similar situation as the teachers. I don't think the other categories of workers who are in that situation. So certainly sugar workers are not there. They have been, the government has met with them in collective bargaining and they have been getting their raises. So you can't say, if you give the teachers the money that you owe them, he's calling it retroactively, I'm saying it's money that is owed to them. Because they've been trying to get the government to sit down and negotiate now for almost 2 years, 2 to 3 years. So this is money that is owed to them. It's not retroactive, money that is owed to them. And to say that if you pay them what is owed to them, then you'll have to pay all the other category of workers, that's a damn lie. Because like I said, it's only public servants who are in a similar position as the teachers. Of course, the teachers are part of the public service. So Jagdeo is lying and he's trying to spin words so as to justify not paying the teachers what he owes them. And that's all right. The teachers have made it very clear, you're not paying, we are not playing.
He talks about fairness. It would be unfair to pay the teachers his word retroactively and not do the same thing for, as I would say, the rest of the public servants.
No, he didn't say the public servants.
Right.
If he had said, He said other categories of workers.
Okay, other categories of workers.
So he's talking about workers who are not public servants.
Good. So he said it
Because
would
the teachers
be
are public
unfair.
servants.
But what is unfair with giving people their just dues? Because you don't want to give Tom what is due to Tom, does that mean Ari has to stay with him?
But that logic that you just lay out there, it's not true. Sugar workers are paid. They've been meeting with sugar workers over the last 4 years, and they've been giving them what is due to them. In addition to $250,000. In addition, recently, the sugar workers went on strike for their 1 week promise of pay at the end of the crop. They pay them. So he's lying, pure and simple.
What does it benefit the government to not pay the teachers, knowing very well that the teachers in strike will have an impact on the education system? As a matter of fact, I saw Priya Manichan, I saw in a story this morning, Priya Manichan expressing concern about the dropout rates and so on. What would it benefit the government to take this hard-nosed stance in light of all of these impacts?
They will go to the supporters and say black people try to get us to bully us to pay, and we didn't fall for their bully. We were able to bully them. They are going to be benefit with their base. That's their hope.
But aren't there supports children suffering also as a result of the teachers not being in the classroom?
What? You not lived long in Guyana to know that those things don't enter the calculations of the PPP, don't enter the calculation of a dictator. A dictator does not look at things in the same logical way as people who are concerned about development. A dictator is not concerned about development. A dictator is concerned about beating his or her opponents. A dictator is concerned about staying in power. It is not concerned about being fair to people. And so the logic that you are using does not apply to this government or to apply to a dictatorship.
So in your assessment, we're in a full-blown dictatorship, or are we still a part?
We've been past a full-blown dictatorship. You have to add up Burnham's tenure and all the other tenure, and they will fall short of this government as a dictatorship. It's a new dictatorship, and it's a dictatorship that has access to grind. Is a dictatorship that is fortified by the belief that the external international forces are not ready to kick them out of office. They are fortified, that they are controlling the parliament, they're controlling the executive, and they're driving fear in the courts.
And given the fact that this dictatorship was, as it's defined or named, identified as, is a government that was installed, as we see, by the international forces. I am sure what their behavior is visible to the international forces. We are close to another elections. Do you foresee the international forces continue to support the PPP in the next elections? Favor them, let's say that?
It is very difficult to answer that question. It's very difficult to answer that question. If the election were held today, yes, the international forces will go with the PPP.
Why would you suggest they would go with the PPP?
They haven't done anything to suggest that they wouldn't.
In my mind, the international, the ABC, and all the rest of the alphabet letters countries, I usually stand firm, or at least appear to stand firm, against human rights abuses, against dictatorial conduct, and so on, many of which we are seeing in this country. And therefore, I would want to assume that with all of that present, and as we like to say, in your face, the stance of the international community different to the one you're suggesting might be the case.
If you make a comparison between your fidelity to a government based or lack of fidelity to that government based on its human rights issues, when you compare that with your economic and political interests, you're always going to come down on the side of your political and economic interests. You're always going to go with the group, the party, that is going to protect your economic and political interests as much as you may be for human rights and all those kinds of things. When you compare human rights versus your economic and political interests, the big countries are going to go with their political and economic interests any day. For a long time under the Cold War, the United States supported dictators all over the world once they were anti-communist.
Thank you. And following the same reasoning in terms of going with your political and economic interests, I noticed Aubrey Norton was on your program recently, and he said one of the reasons he has not been protesting, or the party has not been protesting, is because the PPP has effectively bought out or bought the silence of the Guyanese citizens who would have ordinarily supported protest. And so I am saying unwise for the opposition to really even attempt to protest because of this buying out of the usual quote-unquote suspects when it comes to protests. He further went on to say that a lot of supporters have said to him and perhaps the party that, listen, we are with you, but we rather stay in the background than support you because of our financial interests or our economic interests. How dangerous is that kind of position taking for the democracy?
I wouldn't use the word dangerous. I disagree with Norton. I'm conscious of the fact that he sees more than I see. He has been talking to the international forces. He has been going around to the communities. And so he's in a better position to see all the cards on the table. I'm not in that position. And so my disagreement with him is based on a limited view. As I said, he has a much broader view, a more intimate relationship with the forces than I do. My disagreement with him is on two counts. First, street protests, but protest is a human instinct. And if you're saying to people, you take protests off the table, you're going against their human instincts. Second, the very notion of government brings into play the notion of resistance to government. Once you have government, you will always have the spirit of resistance against the government. And to say that you're not going to protest, public protests, in a sense, you are going against that instinct. And thirdly, you are saying that to your supporters whose resort, whenever they've been out of office, has always been to street protests. It was street protests that largely brought down the PPP in the 1960s. Largely, there were other factors. There was the international factor, based on their ideological preference or lack of preference for the PPP. But there were internal factors where people were on the street. There was an 80-day strike and other forms of national protest. And that brought down the PPP. The street protests in 1997 brought the PPP to the table. And in my estimation, the PNC could have been in government had Mr. Hoyt adopted power sharing at that time. The PNC would have been sharing government with the PPP after those street protests of 1997, 1998, stretched right into 1999. So I'm saying you're talking to a people, a group that is more socialized towards street protests. PPP supporters, on the other hand, have not been socialized for open street protests. There have been some here and there. Their protests, I mean, Dr. Jeffrey liked to remind me that the PPP was able to protest without putting a single person on the street because East Indians protest differently. They know how to burn the cane and sabotage the economy and so on. They are in control of the businesses, and so all they have to do is to withhold their investment and so forth. They don't have to go on the streets to do that. So where they're located in the economy and given over time, Indian Guyanese are less likely to embrace street protests. On the other hand, African Guyanese, whenever their party has been out of power, street protests has been their preferred methodology. And so to go to them and to tell them that street protest is like taking away water from a duck. So I disagree with Brother Norton. I hope he reviews it, because I think by taking street protests off, and one of the reasons he said is that, given the government's willingness to use the power of the state, they are going to be brutal against street protests. Norton is suggesting that. And that may be true. But I'm saying the fact that they don't have to worry about street protests, it means the PPP are taking much more liberty with African Guyanese than they would normally do if there was the threat of street protests. Because any government is mortally afraid of street protests. And this government is also, because remember, this is a government in Georgetown, and Georgetown is primarily African Guyanese, so there is the ethnic component to it. So I think when you look at all the factors, you cannot rule out street protests. Yes, the PPP is buying people, and so some people who you could have gone to protest, they're compromised, and they're not likely to come out to protest. But remember, you're not calling out 100,000 people to protest. All you need in Guyana for a street protest is probably 4,000 or 5,000 people for an effective street protest. And so, even if the PPP buy out some people and they're not going to want to come to protest, you can still have large protests, effective protests without those people. So I disagree with Brother Norton.
Another thing which was cited is the presence of CCTV cameras around the country, or most of the city. Should that really be a deterrent, or should that be a positive for protesters in that the CCTV cameras could provide footage as to who are the people misbehaving, if there's any misbehavior to take place? Because we've known in the past, for example, that the PPP would have gone out there and they would have paid agents provocateur, people to come and create chaos in the protests and so on. Wouldn't those cameras be to our benefits?
No, because you don't control power. Those who control power are going to use the cameras how they want to use them. They're not going to use them to detect their provocateurs that they send into a protest. They're going to use that to see people who work for the government in the protests and move against them.
Thank you. It's 7:58. I see a voice note came in here, and it's usually from somebody who's I don't know if it's anti-Norton, but it's always questioning Norton's stance. So I'm tempted to play it. Let's listen to it.
Good morning to Kadaki and Dr. Hines and all viewers. Concerning your program last night with Aubrey Norton, I would like to have some clarity on the issue of protest, because I think that a watered down constitution reform, which entails biometrics and the voters list, merits a protest. Confiscating of African lands and judicial killings merits a protest. But with that said, let's take the Guyana Teachers Union. Its president have not called on civil society and other unions which were affiliated to the PNC per se to join the protest. And that's not Aubrey Norton's call. Just like Yordi, he made 2 statements and that's it. So I would like, when Aubrey Norton comes back on your show, for him to state specifically what protest would he support. As with the situation in New York, he said he supported that. So I would be anxious waiting on his next interview. Thank you.
I will certainly pose that question to him, and it is a legitimate question to pose to him. So if you're against street protests as we know them, then what is your alternative? There has to be resistance. There has to be protest. What is your alternative? And I'm sure to ask him that question when he comes back.
Thank you. Given the stance, I think it's intimated here. Given the stance of not protesting and so on, and the desire, the need, the almost absolute necessity to have the voters list cleansed, the biometrics and other stuff in place so that you can have what might appear to be a clean vote, a free and fair elections. Are we likely to get these reforms? Can we look forward to this reform? Is the PPP likely to grant that reform without protest?
Yes. If the Americans tell them to do it, they'll do it without protest.
And if the American doesn't, so what happens?
No, I am just answering your question, your first question. The point is that Norton seems to be suggesting that there are assurances by the international community that they are going to pressure the PPP. Hence, one of his reasons for not calling a protest. I am surmising this. He didn't say this in actual words. I'm surmising this. And I am saying that even if the Americans and others were to pressure the PPP, that is all the more reason why local forces should be protesting. It shouldn't be one or the other. It should be both.
Do you get the impression Norton is being pressured by the international community not to protest?
No, I wouldn't answer that. I have my view on that, but I wouldn't answer that in public.
All right, sir. Good. Let's because we're talking all things Ghana. I think the last time you were here, I think we spoke a bit about the PPP's Congress and so on. We saw Larambal elected to the highest decision-making body of the PPP. We saw no African Guyanese represented at the highest decision-making body of the PPP. Therefore, when issues are going to be discussed, policies are going to be formed, there's no representation there for African Guyanese, or let me say, there's no viewpoint there for African Guyanese to be considered at that level. 2 questions, one after the other. First and foremost, Darmlal being elected to that body is now, there's another allegation of rape against him. He, as far as we are aware, remains a part of that decision-making body. What message are we sending to the Guyanese people? Is it that it's okay to be accused of rape and you'll be promoted?
But the man wasn't accused of a second rape when they elected him.
Yes, you know that, guys.
He was accused of a second rape. Anyhow, I get the question that you're asking. Look, let's not fool ourselves. The PPP will not lose one vote. Daramal can be accused of 10 rapes. The PPP will not lose one vote because of it. All right, so let's not. I mean, those things they will not lose one vote. They will not lose one vote. Why are we sweating over that? Secondly, even if they elected Black people to the Central Committee and the executive, those Black people are not going to sit on those councils and protect or advance Black people's interests. The reason that I am commenting on the lack of African Guyanese in the executive of the BPP and the lack of African Guyanese in the Central Committee, the reason I'm commenting, it is because the PPP is telling us that they have bought over, bribe, or Black people have gone over to them. So my point, if Black people are going over to you and you love them, then all your councils should reflect it. And the fact that your councils don't reflect it means that you're a damn lying, that's one. Second, that even if Black people have gone over to you, all you're doing is concerned for getting them over to you, either for window dressing or to show the world that, look, I have some Black support. You're not serious about integrating them in the party.
Not serious about integrating them in the party.
Serious about they will never be serious.
Not serious about integrating them in the society. Because recently we learned that lands which were allocated to residents of Mocha as part of the co-op lands naturally, and those lands which were, I would say, resuscitated through the rape projects, the PPP has decided that we're not going to honor these awards of cooperative lands, these leases. We're not going to honor them. Those which are in the process of being processed, the applications being processed, we're not going to process them. Those which were granted, we are not going to respect that. We're not accepting any fees and payments to them. This is in the community of Mocha I'm talking about. What is happening there?
What's new?
Well, one would believe with all the representation the government made to the UN and so on, that they are supportive of African Guyanese. They accuse Epadaji of not encouraging African Guyanese to take up the opportunities which were granted to them. Now, the PPP would have respected at least those awards.
The external forces will not bring them down for that.
And so how do African Guyanese, like the residents of Mocha, respond to such threat on their livelihood and their existence?
Work out a synergy with the leaders and get moving with protests.
Norton is not willing to lead.
No, you don't know that.
Well, you said that. Norton has said he's not in favor of protests. Who then do they turn to?
He said he's not in favor of street protests.
Who then do they turn to for leadership?
Who should they turn to? That's their party. The majority of Black people vote for that party, and they've been doing so since 1957.
Can there be an alternative to that party if it is apparently failing them?
The people will decide that.
Where does David Hines stand as a national political figure in encouraging protests, leading protests, standing on the side of these people who are being...
The People's National Congress is the only opposition party in Guyana today with the reach, the resources, the influence to lead any large-scale protest. The rest of us can lead protests. We had protests on the East Coast a year or two ago, and we managed to get our 50, 60, 100 people out to those protests. And that is in keeping with our capacity to mobilize. We don't have the resources. I mean, here the WPA, we don't have the resources. When you talk about large-scale protests, you have to bring people to where the protest is. You have to mobilize them. The People's National Congress is the only opposition party that potentially and in reality has that capacity. And the rest of us could go ahead and call protests, and the PNC could undermine those protests if they don't agree with them. So let's not fool ourselves. I hear people tell me all the time, Dr. Hines, you're part of the opposition, why you don't organize protests? Let's be real. Organizing a protest is not penny. And you don't do it with 5 and 10 and 15 activists. The PNC remains the only party with the capacity to mobilize the scale of protest that is needed to bring this government to its senses.
And so you mentioned the need for resources. Reminds me that last week I got a voice note or a call about organizing so that people in the diaspora, if I'm remembering correctly, can at least raise, I think it was $10,000 US to aid the organizing strength of the WPA. Would you say that it would be adequate? That would strengthen
Kidaki, I don't want to discuss a matter like that publicly. A matter like that should not be discussed publicly.
Very well. I have another voice note. Let's go to it.
Good morning, Kidaki and Dr. Hines. I have a question for Dr. Hines. Mr. Norton may have a reason for not promoting protests, but civil society and the average person are feeling the blunt of the PPP's dictatorship. You have the squatters, the market vendors, and the list goes on. Is he stopping those people from protesting? Why aren't they going out? Is there a law that says only the opposition leader should mobilize the people to protest? Major protests are taking place in the US as we speak, at universities. They're protesting what is taking place in the Middle East. It is not done by the average citizen. It is done by the average citizen, I'm sorry. It's not by politicians. Similarly, with George Floyd protests, people got tired and fed up of police brutality. I don't mind protests, but then again, I do not live in Guyana, and from what I'm hearing, people are genuinely afraid.
Comments on that?
Yeah, I'm sure people are always afraid to go out and protest. Always. That is always the case. That is the first response. I agree with the caller. And that is one of the things that Norton is stressing. The second thing is that seldom do people come out and protest on their own, spontaneous protests. Even when we look at protests and think they're spontaneous, they're not spontaneous. George Floyd thing wasn't spontaneous. The Black Lives Matter have been organizing in all the states and the communities in the United States. So when the George Floyd thing happened, there was organization on the ground that were able to take it and to run with it. We in Guyana, we have always organized one-dimensionally, both on the Indian side and the African side. We have always organized through the political party. And so the PNC is the only organization with the reach and the resources to organize the protests, because whatever money Black people give to political, but give it to the PNC. They also give the PNC their bodies in terms of votes. So they have empowered the PNC. For that equation to change, they will have to empower other organizations in civil society. I belong to some civil society organizations, African Guyanese organizations, And we don't get resources from the Black community. They don't come out to our events in big numbers. I'm sure they're in support of us. I'm saying they're not empowered us. As far as the other political parties are concerned, mainly the WPA and the AFC, we don't get the financial support. Well, certainly WPA does not get the financial support from African Guyanese. And we don't get the kind of bodies that we need, the activists that we would need if we were to play a significant role in organizing protests. We have neither the money nor the activists. And to believe that people will spontaneously go onto the road, that's a slim chance, very slim chance. The only spontaneous thing that happened in recent times in our politics was the jailbreak story that ended up in Buxton. And even that wasn't as spontaneous as it appeared to be. All right? So spontaneous action where people just get up and say, be fed up. Don't happen. You may have an incident like the George Floyd incident, and then organizers on the ground then take advantage of it. If we were organized as a political entity with the teachers on the road, the political parties, if they were organized and ready for protest, could have mounted their own protests at the time, so that you have what is called a domino effect. The teachers are out there, their bread and butter issue, and people in the communities are out there with the issues in terms of discrimination, and the thing could have become a national movement. But it is very clear that the political opposition does not have the necessary organization in the ground to take advantage of opportunities that come our way. We simply don't.
Thank you.
Good morning, good morning. I want to make this short and brief. Now, I've been like, leader of the opposition party. If you don't bring a protest to the streets, you is that the leader of the opposition party. And take it from me, and what I talking on the behalf of all them people you see complain to you, all them different regions you went to, you understand? If you don't bring a protest to the streets, you are not the leader. The leader is the man who will bring the protest to the streets, because let me tell you, people will come out regardless of what you believe and what you try to say that, well, all the people police going to use and the government going to use. People know already that the government is always trying to manipulate the police force and the army for trying to intimidate the citizen and frighten them from standing up for their rights. We know there's a strategy, the PPP government. And today, people eyes open, people understand her, and if people come out in the streets, people ain't coming out in the streets for block up and break up. People coming out in the streets to voice their opinion. And you're saying that all the PPP, this pay or some applicants for do this and do that. You know that at the end of the day, we could control them same people well want to run out for do stupidness in the streets. Because we got means and means of how we could manage them. We already know who is the people them who will try to formalize that, and we know that we could manage them. So don't bring it to me. And besides that, we would turn them over to the police. So when you come out in the streets and you bring any protest and anybody try to do anything that is breaking the law and try to disturb innocent Guyanese, you understand me, for stray the protest away from what it is supposed to be, you know that we know how to deal with them. So don't come around with the nonsense and telling me no stupidness, Aubrey. It's about time you come out in the streets and protest with me. You understand me? Bring me out in the street. If you don't bring out nobody else, you're going to bring me out. So You call the protest and I gonna come out with you. And let me see how we gonna start it. Start with one man. Are you ready? Thank you very much. Good morning to all Guyanese and all in the diaspora. Good morning. I want to make this short and brief.
Call it live. Caller live. Caller.
Yes, good morning. Good morning to you, Mr. David. Welcome back. I'm feeling nice when I see you. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we are hearing you. Caller?
Yes, to you and all my...
Please turn on the instrument in your background.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay.
Go ahead.
Is that okay now?
Yes.
You know, the first video, the voicemail tape. I wonder if that caller could remember if he living in America. Let me remind you, because everybody call it an Adinat, but we'll get here just now. Is who made Flash Garden could sit down anywhere in public transportation with no other color, tell Flash Garden, go to the back and sit down. Wasn't no opposition leader, was no politician, was a man of God, step outside there and then get others follow him. You see the problem with our Guyanese people, we don't know politics and politics. We want to use power in front and don't use the knowledge. I don't think. I don't ask the question, what it will cause me tomorrow morning, especially if we have children. It came up. Mr. David, your program Monday night was a bomb. I'm glad you asked Mr. My leader, Abinat, all those tough questions, and he answered them like Bonham. He made me remember my ex-leader, Lyndon Sampson from Bonham. Really, you could understand him. And make you, even a little boy, could understand what he means. Abinat said something what Flash Garden said a long time on this program. Yes, 1997 is different than now. Those who are rules and things put in place and respect the Constitution, the government today don't respect the Constitution. They are all is to cripple black people, and we must not forget about this. This land said, election is nail. I've been not gaffled, work it thing out to be the cool people them next election. I said earlier that Jack Joe is waiting for Abinat to carry black man outside there. And he's gonna catch them poor people, them poor black man, and let them up. Then he's gonna call his friend James Van for go and represent them to get the vote for Buster. That is politics and politics. And then James Van gonna go and represent these people there. And then the same people then will come up and cross Abinat. When you bring us out there, and you know the man will lock you up, and you don't have no money. Time is different now, my black brother sister. Time is different. With protest, rally is okay. But we're not calling one the town name to go outside and protest. We only bank based in Abinat. Why are you guys doing that, black people? They got number 10 is a second level. I leave PNC and WPA and go to number 10, number 2. Hit for the supporters them. We have to start that nonsense, man. Because God don't like to get y'all bomb base. Abinat, let the man work out thing. And Mr. David, you ask him a good question. How you find it now? What is it? What is it different now? If Bonham get the same challenge, Desmond Nice, Griggs and Carbon, he get the roughest time in office right now, Abinat. But because of the help and the blessing from God, make Abinat is still there. Because he living in his party. with wolf in sheep clothing. Before we talk about, you could go out and protest, my brother. I used to leave America and go by myself and protest in big market and market and tell the people, buy from black man first. Trust God did it. I leave America and go home and vote. The last time you vote is 2006, when I could know the tricks of the people. They put all black men on one page. Just now I'm leaving. Put all black men in one page and one book. I was the second person there, or the first. When I went up to vote, then the girl said, "Sorry, you cannot vote in him." I said, "Hey, find my name. I'm going to block this place today. I'm going to tell the judge why me do the card. Are you asked for fair election 92? And the black man give you why you don't want me to do that?" Then she left and go to the back and bring out the book with my name inside it. He said, "If y'all find my name, I will tell the judge yes, because I come to represent my black brother and sister. To stand up. I refuse to take citizenship a long time ago because I love my country. And all them who talking, ask all of them, where them had them green card, if them not come back. Come back and vote for black people in the time to be no. But now they call upon. Look at what King Granger did. And none of them fight down with the Granger for protest. But Granger start playing. He believe in protest. But none of them don't talk about it every day. One more before we go. One more. Mr. David, that song you play is a powerful song. I'm asking you to play this morning, to play that tonight in the program. That song has a message, a very important message when you play Monday night. That message is to teach woman and man of all your personality, of all your dignity. Don't sell it out for dollar. Don't no man use you, woman, as clothespin. You guys know the rest. When the clothespin get the head and foot. When I listen to that song, it means a lot to me. I listened it back 3 times to get the essence of the song. As long as you're a woman, stand your ground as a woman. Don't sell your dignity. Don't sell your personality. Men, God made Adam and Eve. God made Adam and Eve. God did not make Steve and Jezebel. He made Adam and Eve. And woman that learn one thing in history. Stand your ground. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your call. Dr. Hines, comments?
Very thoughtful by Flash Gordon. I mean, it just shows that, there's not one take on this issue. Flash Gordon, I think, was being very thoughtful there in making the assessment of where Norton stand. And there's a lot of truth in what he says. And so we have to take all the perspectives on board.
Call you on.
Yeah, good morning to you and Dr. Hines. Now this morning is a really nice morning, the topics. I would like to address something that I heard on this same program, where a caller whatsoever said that Norton don't have protests. Well, caller, I've got news to you. Every Tuesday, between the hours of 1 o'clock to 2:30, Aubrey Norton people are out there protesting. You say if it's you alone, but let me tell you, if you come and you join Aubrey Norton people, you're going to make the number move from 10 to 11 or from 11 to 12 because the faithful bunch of Norton people usually be out there. Yesterday we had 2 foreigners who gave grace us with their presence and they had our protest. Everybody got their own thing they always, and we must, whatever little a person could do, we must be thankful. I'm a person who is thankful for small mercies. Whatever somebody gives me, I accept it in good faith. Anyway, you see, People got a lot of things to talk about the former President Granger. People were not thankful. And black people got a way of not showing thanks. We as black people in the Bible cause Moses, after all what Moses do, and bring us out of Pharaoh's hand, we cause him not to enter into the promised land. We work hard for, because we kept talking down. Now, out in the States, is a lot of talk going on about not leading protests. Nothing doing this. And now Easter Monday, there was a function in the form of a barbecue at Congress Place. I left me place and got down for the first time Easter Monday. And when I got there, I looked around. And it was so thing that these other leaders who want to lead up new, this was up new ground, the Congress Place. And you didn't see any other body who is vying for the top post of the leadership other than Aubrey Norton. Now, I think that was a point where everybody, because they had foreigners and so, would have seen the commitment of the other aspiring leaders with their team at Congress Place. That didn't happen. Now you hear they got a lot of rhetoric who want got leadership, not want got protests. I get calls from the place there at Congress Place, who is in Norton team, inviting people to come out to GCOM and protest weekly. And from the number that is being invited, only the faithful few goes out to that protest, right? So I don't know what really that caller or noter was trying to say. Probably the noter should give the number to Congress Place that they could be informed that they got protests every Tuesday. Lastly, Dr. Hines, we might fetch. Now I got the tail end of your program with Mr. Norton when you talk about shared governance, and I love the answer. Now, if we are to share governance, it is most obvious we will have to share governance with the PPP. Now, sharing governance with the PPP, we will have to accept who the PPP put up to share governance. Would you like to know that in the team who coming from the PPP, you got Vince, the Attorney General, you know, his requisites goes before him. Things that affect Guyanese, when the judges rule on them and say, well, this is the way we got to go to protect our country and our citizenry, he would take it to the CCJ and get it squashed and annulled. We will have to take him. Imagine the thing what the guy for president who stood up openly after destroying people's house, pushing the girl in the mud, burying the young African by pigs, his livelihood, and said that he did it to show that he is a strong person in destroying a set of our people, African people, way of life. So when you destroy what we're doing, we will now have to come down to going and cleaning all the dirty part of the gutters in Georgetown, cleaning the road and standing up by the Chinese with a big gun to shoot people. This is what you're putting me to. Then next thing you know, the biggest one now with CNN looking into is sexual life. Those are things, if we should join, and then when we got to take in like the Minister of Education, who is responsible for 19 women, but the girl does turn no man, 19 women perishing in a fire, and when they finish perishing in the fire, they take their mortal remains, because fire don't consume everything. Only if you put them in a crematorium, it consumes. And take the remains and build road in Marja for people to walk on. That is what we will have to listen to. Should we have no shared governance, and the only body is going to jump to share governance, it will be the PPP. So that thing, it really dig me up. And for the caller who call in to say, but he want nothing to go and lead, I want to come out Tuesday and we going to be 10 and he going to make 11. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your call. Call you on.
Hello?
Call you on.
Good morning. I'm calling again. I'm very concerned. I'm born and grew in Buxton. And one of the things that concern me is that sometimes WPA is only seeking that the opposition leader is Aubrey Norton. We vote WPA, whether it's been a coalition party, we vote WPA. And we want WPA and Dr. Hines to be more supportive when it comes to in terms of bringing us out. We want him to be our leader. We need him to follow. We need to follow David Hines. We've been supporting this one particular time I've grown, and while it's growing up, my grandmother would always talk about the train. She would always talk about some of the marks that Buxtonian made. She would tell you that Buxtonian are so strong, they're resilient. They would do certain things that the other part of the country need to follow, and that is what we need to do as Buxtonian. We supported Guyana and WPA, and we want stronger representatives. We don't want to hear about Aubrey Norton. We don't want to hear about PNC. Every time that I hear Dr. Hines is calling about Aubrey and Norton to do this, I feel let down because my vote go to WPA, and I wanted to hear we as WPA, we as this, and there's a lot of Buxtonians follow WPA. I wanted to hear that voice saying this is what we give, this is what we stand for, this is our ground, this is it, that don't keep referring to WPA, to PNC and Aubrey Norton.
Thank you, caller. Dr. Hines?
Well, nothing is written in stone. The more of that I am aware that there are people in the country. They call us from Buxton, and I'm aware of that there are people in Buxton and other villages that support us and would like us to play a much more meaningful role than we are playing at the moment, and that is not off the table. You see, we live in a country where we don't do polls. You see, people meet us and say, "Well, whoa, you aren't getting no support." Now, I know that we have support in the country, but we have to make that more manifest. And once that is manifest, then it puts pressure on WPA, on myself, and others to assume a more meaningful role. So I'm very glad for the confidence that they call her, and I am not, as I said, I'm not unaware of that, and it is something that I will have to take into consideration, and the WPA will have to take into consideration as we go forward in the coming months.
Follow you on.
Good morning to all Guyanese and all in the diaspora and those at home. Dr. Hines, this statement is to you, and I want to address Comrade Leader C. Norton on the statement as well. Now, we know in this country, Guyanese know in this country that there's two major parties we got. Let's play politics. Every 5 years, go in, go come out in this country. Don't worry, the small parties, WPA and whoever else, it don't really matters. It is come when it is time for coalition, etc. So my statement to Comrade Leader is that protest is one of the things that is really put the PPP to the table to know that we're listening. The PNC representing the people, they're representing the black people. Barra got away where he performing over the PNC party, where he say that he gaining security, the
the president saying that he can reach with people and interact with people and all these kind of thing. All these formality and no protest, no standing up and no representing against, you understand me, the PPP party where the PNC party is concerned. You going into the PNC stronghold and you're talking to the people them. The people them listening to you, but they really ain't accept you. They really ain't want nothing to do with you. But they ain't got nobody with a talking to, and there's issues, there's situations that facing people. And some people can take a talk, you understand? And some people are not going to take no talk. Some people can take money. Some people can take pretensive buyout, wherever, however you want to describe it. And Barrett, at the end of the day, you can believe what you want to believe, but the people them gonna got in the mind what they got in the mind already. So I'm saying is that if Aubrey don't protest with the people and represent black people in this country, then Aubrey fit to be the leader. I don't business with Flash Garden calling in and how much description he could give and how much explanation he could give and how much this time he protests by himself and he do this and he do that and he do. Just like how he's saying 97 and Aubrey said 97 times gone. Well, it's 2024 we there in. Election is next year. And we can have a protest for get a voters clean list. We can have protest for move the thing from GCOM. We can have protest for a lot of things. So when we can start this protest? 2025, when it's election time? Man, come on, man. I say to you, Mr. Norton, at the end of the day, you know me. I asked Israel Ford. I said, why the PNC coming to the table and maybe bring the people out in the street? And there's about a year and change ago, and he said, ask Aubrey. And I asked you, Aubrey, and you turn and say that the people got to come out. But who calling the people out? If it's not the leader calling the people out, because you say it's two major parties, PNC, PPP. Don't worry, the AFC and the wherever you can't try to tell people. These politicians them got to stop this stupidness with the guy now with. You understand me? And because Barajag, you is represent the Kuli people. If you is the opposition leader and majority of the voters for the opposition is black people, you got to represent black people. And black people need to stand up and represent themselves against Barajagio with the leader. There's the politics you all teach in this country. Then politicians say, run, you must say how fast. When they say stop, you must say, well, I will go slow. Now y'all doing we are kind of stupidness and nonsense and telling we are kind of story. The best time now the teachers them there up on the streets, resume the strike. You ain't telling the people them, well, all right, you come out and support the teachers. You the one say, yes, you support the teachers, but you ain't telling the people go out and support the teachers. Yes, you. All them regions, you went to 10 different regions, you're walking all over. All these people making complaint. You think they're complaining to you because that's why you complain? They want to see what's the next move. They want to see what's the confrontation. So you can't say to them, all right, go tomorrow, next week, we're going to stand up in the street, we're going to face and confront Barrett and confront the PPP party and get the issues through and come to the table. Man, listen, man. You have to stop the pussyfooting and do the right thing for black people in this country. Black feeling pain. Black people feeling pain. A lot of we feeling pain. Last time when was it to be can only get weed and work, go to work and dirty, stinking, nasty work. You understand me? For do when you get paid today, you broke tomorrow. You get paid today, you broke today, as the teacher said. Man, you left me alone, man, and do the right thing, yeah? Thank you very much for hearing this voice, this call. Thanks very much.
Thank you for your call. Dr. Line, along with the comments of this caller, Jason Benjamin says he has a question for you to ask, and that is if pardon? Call Holy Line. All right, so the doctor is currently on his phone. I guess it's an important call. So let's pay some bills in the meantime. Hey fans, it's karaoke and oldies night this and every Thursday at Club Twilight Sideline Dam, Buxton. Dance to the magical songs of yesteryear by popular DJs and Camps Audio. Admission is free. Come out, let's make memories at Club Twilight Sideline Dam, Buxton North. Yes, tomorrow is karaoke night. Tomorrow is karaoke night. Come on down to Club Twilight, and some people might say sing your troubles away. Some people might say sing your troubles away. But remember, if you're looking for meat to check out,
You can get meat anywhere,
Harris
but
Meat
for the
Center.
best cuts of chicken, beef, pork, mutton, and lots more, check out T&W Harris Butcher Shop, located in the East Ramvelt Market Meat section. Call us on 609-7168, 641-4494. Ask for Rastaman. T&W Harris Butcher Shop, for the best in fresh cut meats and lots more.
You tune to the Guyanese Morning Time. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam, and we're talking with Professor David Hines on varying issues. Dr. Hines, as I was saying, Jason Benjamin is asking if what is the WPA doing in this situation? What is the WPA doing about the situation in Ghana? Is strike one of the resolute actions to be taken right now? You would like you to respond to that.
If strike
is one of the resolute actions to be taken right now, what is the WPA doing about the Ghana situation?
We support the teachers' strike. We support other workers coming out on strike. We're not a trade union. We can't call a strike, but we support the teachers' strike. We support other public servants going out on strike. We are very, very, very firm on that.
Call you live. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. This is Dr. Hines. He knows that, as I know that when they are called on strike, nobody don't turn up. Don't matter, all those people are calling in and said, oh, there we go on strike, there we go on protest, go on protest, everybody, and ask any one of them there that calling in and talk about protest if they ever go on a protest. They do not go. All they only asking are, where is Risedale, where is Emmanuel, where is all these politicians that came there walking about and talking? If they ever go, they will go out and protest. They don't call protest. The leaders don't go. You ever see Jagan go and protest? You ever see Bonham go and protest? You ever see Jagdio go and protest? No, his followers are going and protest. It's they going out there. It's not the leaders going out. It's the people going out there going and protest. Every time they say not, they say but protest. But this is not Jagan time. This is orphan and Jagdio time. They kill anybody. And when they kill people, you can say when somebody go to the set of people, they kill a woman right in front of the presidential guard here. Margaret and soft time for that. So but no is more dangerous than the last time. I won't go to protest, I'm telling you that. I would not. This is the crowd, they have Collins and they went to protest James Brown, all of them get shot. The police going to shoot all of them. If you all remember that time. This is not the time, this is not Jagan time you go and protest and you do what you want to do. This is the criminals the time. You can't jack you can't do them things they pass. They get Higgins there as a police commissioner, he taking orders. All of them they taking orders, nobody else. So you cannot go there and say protesting and get through easy. I listen to that. Mr. Not gonna go every day, see building the people when you call a protest, you got to make sure everybody come out. He say that because when you call a protest, you get the people together. When you call a protest, everybody to get the crowd, you could call and say, well, look now, come out. You see the teachers going and protest. See how much mothers going out there and protest with them. Nobody, them ain't going one and two, you see walking, but the rest is anybody going with them. No, the teachers alone, and they are teachers. So the people are there, the police are doing them, the police don't need to stand up one place and they protest. And they deliver the school or whatever the education, the money. But let the politicians out there, you will see the difference.
Thank you, caller. Caller, thank you for holding your life. Caller, thank you for holding your life. Caller, you're on.
Very much. A blessed good day to you, Mr. Kadaki, and to Mr. Hines and the rest of the Guyanese nation in and out of the diaspora.
will remind us all, Guyanese, what we all need, most of us need, is a renewing of our mind, that we can have a clear vision of how this battle has to be fought. The opposition leader is not really saying that he's against the protesting or anything. He's there one major tool that can use in any politician challenge is this same protesting. This is one major. But that's one of the major, but there are many more. Rope in chocolate down and put a rope around there. And there's something like that Mr. Arbinard was trying to say. He was trying to say there are many angles that this battle has to be fought from, and we are fighting from different angles. But at the same time, whilst we are fighting the battle, those who want to protest can also protest and go. Well, not that he's against it, but what Guyanese are really calling for is that most people want to see he playing an upfront role in a protesting, but Guyanese, let us understand and let us be honest to ourselves. If we look at the teachers, them protesting, and the union is the teachers, them bring out that protesting, and then the union jump on board. We Guyanese are so, like what Mr. Kadaki they have done, and what Rondon does have done, we also could continue with our protests. And that's what the people are calling for Mr. Arbinard, that when you see things like that, you can support and come on board. We do at the same time, you have a lot of things that you're doing and have to be done. But the people need a message to understand. They know that you are there, but they need more aggressiveness to know, well, look, Chagdi, you must know that we don't stand up for this nonsense anymore. And something like that, what they are calling us for. So once we know, we understand what Mr. Arby is saying, and what is they're trying to understand what he's doing at the same time. So when he's saying a diplomatic way, many times you gotta look at it from a different angle to really see and know what is the strategy that is using. And that's what is going on. However, we still need to stand up in this protest, and we need to create this scene in the way, because let me tell you something, unless we protest, the result, the message will not get over. So I hope, Mr. Arbinard, you understand that many people are not trying to tear you down. It's just that they are misinterpreting, and some are very hasty. But the word of God said, Guyanese people, be angry. We have a right to be angry. God give us permission to be angry in any time, in any situation. But he said, do not sin. And so when he said, we have to take control over our 5 cents, even though we are angry and we are upset and we are dying, and we got to be careful how we're speaking. And the same that we can't be tearing down each other to try to build up each other. You can't break it down and build at the same time. You got to make up your mind one direction. So I hope that the Guyanese nation understand what is going on. And Mr. Arbinard, explain yourself a little more clear, and occasionally let them know you are there by supporting, by being present. Make your presence felt by you in person. Some people want to see you in person, and that will give them upliftment of the spirit. So come on, opposition, please try to play that part occasionally and do that. However, kindly let us understand. Let me just say a little short into the president. I want to know, come at president, what really watching make it behave like that with the soldier then? Is you watching in America and see what kind of with Diddy? Is Diddy party example you are following? So please, Mr. President, is a bad example. And to the Army people, that is a bad example for the nation, Guyanese nation, and those around the world. So please, it's not good, it's not reflecting nice. So stop this APN, this what we call it, this illegal, this corrupting we are right now with the alphabet man, the rainbow we are there, and this sitting down and shelter. Stop pushing it in our military, and you as a president be a good example. God bless us, nation, Mr. Kadaki. God bless us, and we're going to get there.
Thank you for your call. Caller, you're on.
Hello, good morning.
Caller, you're on. You need to turn the device down in the background.
Okay, let's turn it to an opportunity.
Yes, sir. Caller? Smart TV there far away. Caller? Hello? Call you on.
Good morning. I just want to make a small point. Well, it's not a small point, but I'm going to be short. The point is, I'm finding something is wrong with our people. Now, there is a cause to be fought. We're trying to uproot this regime. We're not pleased with stuff that has been happening. Why suddenly would WPA go in and you want to talk against Norton? You just hear the specific talk about against the PPP. You think they're happy with the people, all them happy with what's going on? But there's a common cause. That's what I want to say. But it really annoys me that people cannot understand this. We come together for a common cause. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Call you on.
Good morning. The Honorable Dr. Hines. Good morning to you as well as my fellow comrade Kadaki. Good morning. Back to the audience. Good morning. First and foremost, I have two questions and a comment. Let me start with the comment. The comment first is to recognize that Barra Jagdeo must be jailed for his treasonous actions perpetrated against Guyanese, and more so with the exorbitant amount of corruption being perpetrated and what he has brought upon this land. Not forgetting the murder of our Guyanese brothers and sisters. First and foremost, for that to happen, it cannot happen under this PPP regime. They are corrupt. PPP is bad business for Guyana, and we all know this. And while we look at protest, I understand and I do share at some point protest is needed. But is it the right time to do such? That's a question for anyone to ask. And any one of us, it doesn't have to be 1,000 people to protest. One man can bring down 10,000. 10,000 can bring down so many more. But the question, if we look at so many different parties in the coalition, so to speak, and this is not to bring out any strategic approach or anything that should not be discussed here, but for us to think, if each person can make their contribution and be that change or make that input to make a significant difference, then we come down to this position. For example, the WPA. Would the WPA support a protest? Would the WPA bring on a protest and lead a protest for the people at this juncture with what is going on in Guyana? I am sure that there are much other approaches that can be utilized to achieving its objective. And my second question, are we prepared for the eventualities of protest? And this is not out of the position of fear, but we have to understand that we must grant our enemies the same level of intelligence we grant ourselves. And so what I am looking at, or what I'm pointing to, is that there comes a time, and the time is now, where the corrupt PPP regime must be dismantled, must be put out for good, must be removed from that office. And in so doing, who has to do it? The international arena? No. Politics in Guyana now takes on two fronts, a geopolitical as well as local politics. But the question remains, who will lead the mantle? And so I rest my case by letting everyone know that we are all leaders. Though at times we take position of followers, we can be the change we want to see. But we must unite as a people and act in conformity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning to all my Guyanese brothers and sisters.
What I want to say this morning, God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And when you listen to all these people calling in and whatever, all they present is fear. Fear, fear. In the Bible, people battle. No one get victory without being brutalized and life lost and locking up. And you have to fight for what, because this government cares nothing about what people do. You sit down, you talk, you go. No, you have to be ruthless because they are ruthless. And I agree with going out there. That's the only thing these people understand. And why we people can come together as one and go out and fight for what's ours. You know what you can get? People gonna come into our houses like Jack D.O. and all of them walking about the places. Yes, we understand they have some black fools taking monies and bringing down the people. You understand I'm telling you? But I know if we go out there in numbers, we're gonna conquer these people. They're only talking. They fear protest if you go there because you're going to be talking from them. And every day this thing is getting worse in this country. These people don't care. Look at Darmalal, 500,000. Then, look, people need to get radical. People need to go out there. Whether Norton want to go out or Rui want to go out, the people must go out there. Let them go. In every village, if you don't want to everybody come out in front of the villages and protest. Yes, to get up, but once you go out there and you're consistent in doing, people will come out. People will come out. Things getting from bad to worse in this country. We paid for water. We're not getting. We paid for light. Blackout. They're sending bills. Now you have to be buying water from who? You don't even know what you're drinking. We used to be drinking the tap water. We cannot drink tap water anymore. People struggling. I am struggling. I have children. I have grandchildren and great-grand. What people doing? We need to stand up. We need to stand up. Election? We waiting for election? Well, I just sit down and wait because soon we won't be able to put out and them just sit down in office with the bag going in the morning. They soon won't be able to go. You see, they want to bring in doctors away from Bangladesh. This is a coolie country they want to make. This a coolie. That's the one Guyana they're talking about. What happened to black people? What happened to black people? These people gonna start shooting people. They're going to start killing people like birds. You're going to die anyway because you listen, we're talking about poison. These people own all the business places and whatever. We are going to suffer if we continue to sit down. Black people, rise up. Get up. Stand up. God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. Let us stand up and put God in front. He's going to lead us. People got to stand up for what is there because this government don't care. This is a careless government. They don't care. Look, you best get up. Get up and stop sitting down, yeah?
Thank you for that voice. So the final call is on the line. Caller, you're on.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Kadoki. Good morning, Mr. David Hines. We need a protest in front of GCOM. We need a protest so baby come out from DPP. Also, we need so much of protest to be done, peaceful protest to be done, because one, the things that we are going through and children that I see suffering. Ms. Kadoki, I don't have children, minors, having grandchildren, suffering for a daily meal to go to school. Parents working and still there's a separation going on, rent to pay. Mr. Kadoki, and when I watch at these children and I comment based on Mia Motley, Kit Rowley, Ralph Gonsalves, Donald Trump, and Mike Pompeo is who get we in this suffering because they are racist. And when I see Parmenan putting up some things, I can't stop cursing Parmenan. They are racist, and we need Jagdeo out, completely out, PPP out of power. Mr. Nart, God know, sorry, Mr. Kadoki, God know why he made me a woman, because things were there in my mind. Only me and God knows. You see this woman Claret saying we need her out of GCOP. We need to go out there and protest. I'm in Blackwater, 40 miles back there. I'm trying with the little business. I ain't lying. The business hard. But you go to Madia. The things in Manta, you ship over 100,000. You get 2 black passable, a case of Guinness or 2, a case of beer, and like 3 cases a Cokes. Your money done. If you gotta stop in a hotel, the hotel and your water. You gotta go out to friend and bed. When I see the water that coming through the pipe that they recently dig in Church Street in Madio, Mr. Norton, Mr. Kadoki, if I send that water to your phone, you will cry and see what people have to bathe with. And the Salbor water gives to all the business schoolie them in Madio. And who are the airstrip and catch it at the airstrip, which Blackwood at the airstrip and get it. The water that given school street people and 7 Mile people is no good water. And these people say we're moving forward. What Colin Crowell? We need to go in front of housing and protest Colin Crowell out. There's not doing anything for black people. I was watching Success yesterday. The people at Success yesterday on the phone. An empty tank. They put some empty tanks, some tanks, and imagine they empty it. And next thing, the Indian man Latman say will get all of the tanks and put it in his yard. Mr. Kadoki, we need protest in front of GCOP. We don't need Claret Singh. She's a wicked, coolie bitch. We don't want her there. We don't want her there. Mr. Narkin, everybody go in front of GCOP and get her out. We supposed to choose a GCOP chair, ENC. And you need to choose the GCOP chair, not PPP. Thank you.
Thank you for that call. Please refrain from calling females or females bitches. Like it. Dr. Hines, so much has been said. I'm sure you want to say something in response. We got a number of other voice notes to play before we wrap up.
Yeah, let me just say a couple of things. You all might have seen me on the phone just now. It was Mr. Norton who called me. And I'm saying that publicly to say that Mr. Norton is listening. He feels that he's been misrepresented. And he's going to come back on, as he promised, Politics 101. And we're going to spend a lot of time dealing with this question of protest. He felt that he said a lot, and the view that he's against protest is not a fair view, that he's not against protest. Kaitor News has an article on the show in today's papers. It says Norton signals new form of protest. Norton signals. So here is one media house who didn't take the headline that Norton is not for protest. They got from the show, Norton signals new form of protest. So you see, when you are on a show for an hour and a half, people take my own views that Norton spent a lot of time explaining why we cannot protest in the traditional way. And that is what gives the impression that he's against protest. But he's saying that he's not against protest. So I just wanted to say that you know, he was the person I was on the phone with just now. The important thing here is that he's listening and he's hearing everything that is being said. And we both agreed just now, or we had already agreed, that he would come back next week on the program. And what we will do when he comes back next week is that we will deal with the question of protest. I don't want to say that alone, but we will spend at least the first half of the program dealing with that, so that Mr. Norton can be pellucidly clear about where he stands on protest. No doubt, the program has caused quite a stir, and it seems that all of us may have taken parts of the program that we heard, and so forth. So I just wanted to say that. The second thing I want to say is that I heard the young lady from Buxton and others who were calling on me and the party that I belong to play a more frontal role. And I want to give the assurance that we are going to do so within the confines of our resources. Our party, we don't have a vehicle, for example. The party doesn't have a vehicle. We don't have the boots on the ground. We are hamstrung. But based on what we have to do more than we are doing. That sister who said our vote for the coalition was a vote for the WPA. And there are many people like her. That they voted for the coalition, but they knew which party took them there. And I want to say that I heard that sister, and I've heard all the others who are asking for us to play a more frontal role. And we are going to try to do that as much as possible in the coming weeks and months. As I said, our big problem is resource. We don't have resources. And so we're appealing to our supporters to help with resources. We have a vehicle fund, but there's not enough money there yet to buy a vehicle. So I am, in a sense, pleading with supporters to make contributions to us so that we can beef up our resources. But resources or no resources, we have to play the role. We have to represent. In the first place, those people who cast their vote at the last election for the coalition, but cast it through our party. And for those who have since the election reposed confidence in us, we have to represent them and represent the community at large. The next thing I want to say is that the WPA's position is that at this time, we cannot split the opposition. If we are moving in the opposition, we have to move together. If I stress Norton, well, not Norton, the PNC a lot, is because the PNC is the largest party in the coalition. And they're the ones with a larger reach. But it doesn't mean that the PNC alone has to do this work, right? So the WPA's position is that we are not splitting ranks at this time. I know there are people who are disappointed with the PNC and are showing support for us. We just want to say that we are not going to use that support to split the ranks. We are going to use the support to ensure that there is an all-opposition movement, because the iron fist of the government means that every one of us, each group, regardless of size, has to confront that we have to do this together. So I just wanted to make that point very clear, those points. One, that Mr. Norton called to say that he is concerned that he is misunderstood and that he would come back on the program as he promised for him to clarify his position on protest. Secondly, as I said, the WPA has heard you. I have heard you as someone who people look to as a leading member of the party, and to say that it is not that we do not intend to play a role, but we do not intend to be divisive. We want an all-opposition front and all-opposition solidarity. We don't have to agree on everything. We don't have to always hold meetings together. We can have separate meetings. We can have separate protests. But if you're talking about street protests, we can't afford to take 50 people to the streets. They will laugh us out of town. We have to mobilize big. And to mobilize big, we have to have the large party on board. So I've heard all the views expressed here, the angle, and I hear them every single day. And I am cognizant of what our response has to be. But we in the opposition, PNC, WP, I can't speak for the AFC, we have to find a way to coordinate a response, to stop this government in its tracks from taking advantage of our people. And secondly, to ensure that we have the conditions for free and fair elections. And we are only going to get the conditions for free and fair elections if we have a movement that is out in the open space, fighting for free and fair elections and fighting for the conditions.
Voice note. Thank you, Dr. Hines.
Kadaki, good morning. You know, concerning this street protest and what Aubrey Norton said about protests on the road, street protests, I disagree with him. And
sorry, I'll discontinue this voice note in light of the fact that Mr.
No, play the voice note since it came on before.
That's what I was saying. All right. Yeah. All right, let me find it back. I know it came on before, but I guess we had some clarity. But let's play it. It's...
Kadaki, good morning. You know, concerning this street protest and what Aubrey Norton said about protests on the road, street protests, I disagree with him. And I disagree with him on the basis that the PPP government, this demonic government that we are dealing with, the only thing they understand is protest. That is the only thing that gets them to move and to do things according to the people, because they are not governing in the interest of the people. This is a government that is not governing in the interest of the people. And the people have every right to protest against things that are not pleasing them, and cause them not to be comfortable in their own skin. And if Aubrey Norton, as the opposition leader, feels that protest is not the way to go, therefore, there are people I know in the coalition that want protest because they need action. And the only action they can have is protest action against this government. So some may want the protest and some may not. But for those who interested in protesting, he should allow them to protest. He should bring them together and call a protest. You know, because that's the only action this government understands. So to Mr. Aubrey Norton, I do not agree with you on protest action, on not protesting. You hear? Because we need to protest. There are many people like me who need to protest because that is the only way we can tell this government, well, look, we are not pleased with in the way in which you are governing our country. And to Mr. Aubrey Norton and to everybody out there, all coalition supporters, you hear, all workers who are not pleased with what this government is doing, that is the only way we have that we can protest against them so they would know that we are not pleased, because we are not. I, for one, I am not pleased. And that is the only thing I can do. Number two, we have the courts here in Guyana. The PPP seems to be running to the CCJ all the time because they recognize that they cannot get their way when it comes to not upholding the law and the constitution of this country, because they are not upholding the law and the constitution of this country. Now you tell me a government is not upholding the law and the constitution in a land, in our country, Guyana. Now what is that? The only place we have to vote our concerns and our opinion is the courts. Now there are laws that the courts pass down. There are rules that the court pass down that these people, who the government owes money to and are not paying, that the court advise them to pay, and they are not doing it. Can nothing be done about this? Can the court hold these people in contempt for not carrying out the court order? Now, this is a government, and the government is not carrying out the court order, Kadaki, and that is not right in any country. You hear? It leaves room and open room for lawless. Exactly what we are getting. Guyana right now is a lawless country because of this government. We don't have president and vice president. We have mafias. We have mafias running our country, and they are bringing this country to naught. You hear? It's fine for the international community, because the international community put them there so that they can do their biddings. You hear? They're not seeing how the people are suffering. All they are interested in is having their bidding carried out by this government. So, Kadaki, we as the people of Guyana, we as Guyanese, especially we as Africans, because they're not governing in our interests. So the only thing we can do is to protest. And I myself am calling for protest action against this government. Thank you.
Thank you for that voice note. A lengthy one, but worthy. Let's go to the audience.
Good morning to our listening viewers. And good morning, Mr. Professor Hinds, Mr. Kadaki, and the listening viewers around the world. My question to you, Mr. Hinds, Professor Hinds, what do you think about Mr. Granger, who's stuck and not coming out, not even to say X, Y, or Z? And do you feel that this separation of Mr. Granger put holding himself hostages, not coming out to voice his concern, would bring a great impact? Good morning to you, Mr. David Hinds. Question to you, Professor Hinds, this morning. What do you think about Mr. Granger not coming out to support the party that he used to be once governed? And what do you think about the impact of him not coming out? If you think that is fair.
Morning, Dr. Hinds. Dr. Hinds, you're doing such a good job that to me, you become so important that you became the bridge between us, the supporters of the opposition, that can get on. I don't have the chance to get to Brother Aubrey directly, that we could be able to, have conversations with him. And so we use your program and Brother Kadaki program to speak to especially you, Dr. Hinds, because we know that you as we getting in touch with Brother Aubrey most and regular, and you would share with him how the people's concern who call in and send text messages to you and so, and that is so good. And my piece is that I was listening to the conversation with you and Brother Aubrey, and when the conversation finished, it only leave me to say like, wow, wow. My brother, my fellow Lindoner, who is the leader of the main opposition party, a big arm, a big party in the country, would be telling the world, because that's how social media is, that protest is not an option, and to give the reasons why, show the weakness of our dear leader, the weakness in him, very, very weak. Because look at this, Dr. Hines. Of course, people would be afraid because of the vindictiveness of and the wickedness of the government. But look at this, Dr. Hines. The protest could start in the parliament. Don't got no victimization there. The protest could start from in the parliament. And why I say this, and I love to use this reference, check in South Africa with our brother Julius Malema, the leader of the EFF, and see what caused that party to be the third largest party in parliament, and there's only 13 years old. Check and see what is the reason. It's because of the vibrantness of the leadership of the leader. That is it. Of course, people would want to take twice to come out and support a protest and those kind of things because of the vindictiveness of the government. That is a fact. But this protest could start in the parliament, make the parliament uncomfortable. And there's where I see Brother Aubrey to show it a lot of weakness. A lot of weakness. He's been wrong like a tie inside the there. They got many other areas that, as the opposition leader, that you could share your dissatisfaction in ways of protest, and by doing that, you're able to give people the urge to follow to suit, because they know they have a strong leadership that if the government victimize them where the work and so is concerned, you stand up for them. You stand up for them. It's the weakness in the leadership of the opposition that caused the wicked government to go so far with the people in Moko, then they'll put them Amelia's ward, because they see the weakness. They see the weaknesses in the leadership, and brother, we got to admit that. Got to admit that. It is such a shame. It is such a shame that times. I feel real bad. I feel real bad with Brother Aubrey. Yeah, I feel real bad, real terrible, to be honest. Real terrible. But
Morning, Mr. Amsterdam and Mr. Hines. I do agree with Norton's position. I believe, according to the Bible, that there's a time for everything. There's a time for peace, there's a time for war, there's a time for street protests, and there's a time for other protests. So, according to my understanding, that what Norton was saying yesterday, my interpretation, that there was 1997, and in this 50-60, that was the time for street protests. But 2024, it is not the time for street protests. It is time for different protests, and that is not in position. Remember, Norton have the biggest to lose if a street protest should go wrong. Same thing like in the local government election, his party has the most to lose. So I agree with Norton to hold that position, because he know what he have to lose as a leader of the opposition and of the PNCR. Now, there's other party. PNC is not the only party in the opposition. Why the other party don't organize the same protest? When we had the Queen and Bacchus protest, Norton did not organize it, but I am sure in the background he did support the protest. I believe Norton is not coming out clear. He cannot come out clear and say, but you have to read between the lines. The man is basically saying, based on my interpretation, if you are want to protest, go ahead and protest. But me as the leader of the PNC, I am not going to call the protest, but you call the protest and I will support the protest. But it is not my call at this moment. Maybe it was in it was in 1997, I would have made the call, but I am not making the call now. So those who are talking about protest and protest, they should go out and start the protest and do the protest. The caller that calling for us that's saying not is not a leader if the man is not protesting and stuff like that. The man is a leader. The man know what he's saying. The leader is always able to see what the followers are not seeing. That is why they are called leaders. So I agree with Norton that this time is not a time for street protests. Norton know what he's doing. Let us just, as Flat Garden say, just follow the man leadership. The man know what he's doing.
Thank you for that voice. So Dennis, good morning. I see you falling into the trap, girls. Don't let me play the numbers game. Don't worry them on the numbers thing.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. Good morning, Dr. Hines. I must agree with all that Flash Garden would have said. It is unfortunate that Mr. Norton has received a bad hand indeed. And as he would have rightly said, these are different times. So he needs to re-strategize his we cannot take street protests off of the table. However, I believe that this war is a different one. It's more of an intellectual war as compared to a physical one, whereby we use street protests. Also, Mr. Norton is already challenged with members in his own camp acting against him. So who do we expect to organize this street protest? Mr. Norton cannot do it all by himself. Everybody needs to come together and work in unison for any street protest to be successful. Added to that, who are the lawyers do they have lined up to protect citizens, to protect the poor, if they should be victimized or locked up by this wicked administration? We see over on the other side, a lot of folks, a lot of persons have been working pro bono. But what about the opposition side? Yes, we see this guy, Darren Wade, would come out from time to time, but that is only one man. Sometimes I know Nigel Hughes does it, and Rysdale Ford. But those are only three folks. Where are the other liars who are there lined up to protect the interests of the people, of the protesters?
Okay, thank you for that one. Listen, the voice notes are so many. We have to wrap the program. It's almost 9:30. I'll try to play some of these voice notes tomorrow morning on Free Talk Friday. Dr. Hines, your responses and wrap up, please.
In the interest of time, I've already done a sort of a wrap up, but it's an interesting program because we're hearing all the sides, all the dimensions, and that it's not straightforward. And I think it is these frank programs that help to inform us as activists, as people in the leadership, as to how we move, and for me, this morning program was every time I come on here, and I get to hear from people, I learn something new. But this morning, I think was most instructive, and I have learned a lot here this morning that would cause me to rethink some conclusions that I have arrived at, so I just want to leave it there.
Thank you. Thank you for your time, Dr. Hines. Viewers, thank you for tuning in. Join Dr. Hines tonight for Politics 101. And
yes,
tomorrow,
and I'm likely to open the phones tonight to I've continued this conversation. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but at least I'll open the phone for some of the time to continue this conversation.
Thank you viewers for tuning in, and as usual, I'll be here tomorrow, and we're going to have our usual session of Guyanese Morning Time Free Talk Friday. So those of you who didn't get to have your say today, my apologies, but hopefully you'll get priority tomorrow. Stay blessed, stay strong. Let's keep the fire burning. Goodbye. Have a good one.